the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
We're halfway through the final season in 2023, and the GT3 doubleheader lands at America's National Park of Speed, where today, in what is expected to be a high-speed thriller, GT3 machines will battle around Elkhart Lake. Hello everyone, welcome along to RaceSpotTV, where once again our Junior Kenki Party is alongside with Joey Tebben as we get ready to see what is expected to be some rather thrilling racing, because Road America is deceptively simple, Joey. It looks like 90-degree corners, but they're all unique in their own little way, and it always seems to produce a classic of an outing.
Every time we come to Road America, whether it's in the Precision Racing League or whether it's in any other league, you're basically guaranteed to have a fantastic race. It's been tested by time in every single type of road course racing. International, they come here. In the US, they come here. It's only 14 corners, but it's going to test all of these drivers, and it's already spicing things up because everybody's got experience here. Everybody can excel.
It is maybe a track that they have experience in different cars, though, at this track as we take a look at the schedule. What a interesting couple of rounds we've just come off. Of course, 3 back-to-back tight and twisty races, and now 2 very high-speed races, Road America and a trip down to Interlagos to round out the month of October before 3 races in November to crown a champion. And of course, one more maybe slightly tighter track, Circuit de Lebanon, the newest track, of course, to the iRacing service as well. But Fuji and Watkins Glen to close things out. Joey, it's a high-speed final 5 rounds to look at.
I'm very scared for Lebanon, not necessarily because it's going to be a bad race, but I'm just scared for the drivers. They've got to learn a whole new track. It's a track that's got tons of elevation change. It's an unfamiliar layout. That's going to be a very interesting round. But remember Road America, because the season finale in a couple weeks' time at Watkins Glen, a somewhat similar track in many ways, 2 of the best tracks for racing in the United States. if you succeed at Road America today, you're going to be in pretty good shape to succeed at Watkins Glen in the finale.
And so as we look at the first half of the season being in the books, it means the one drop round that the drivers can use in the first 9 races starts to be factored into the championship. The margin just 10 between Eric Kulaga and Jeff Carollo, just 5 points further back to the tie for third between the SGE Esports teammates Buck Hamilton and Waldo Walden, and then only 3 points further back, 4 points further back, 4 points further back. Ultimately, Joey, halfway through this season, given what a strong start we've seen from one particular driver, it's crazy to think how wild and still open this championship truly is.
Yeah, the only 2 drivers who have won this season, only one of them is on this picture right now. Luis Grullon won the first 3 races, got disqualified from the 4th race, and didn't have a very good race last week either. So he sits in 16th place right now because you can't drop a round where you've been disqualified or received penalty points. So he's basically out of luck in the championship. He's got to make up 52 points. It's a similar story for Ross Sortino in 5th, but he only has to make up 18 points, which is definitely a more make-upable gap after 2 DNFs in round 2 and round 3. He's got an uphill battle to do, and he's got to do a lot more winning if he wants to win this championship, though.
Joey Tebben making up words along the way, but with
make-upable.
Vulture Motorsports North 1 and 2, SGE Esports 3 and 4 in the Drivers' Championship. No surprise to see them 1 and 2 in the Team Championship as they run themselves 17 points separated from one another. Only another 21 points back to Scuderia Lunatic Racing, with B&O Racing now slightly out of the equation. Of course, you can have 3 drivers enter, Joey, but it's hard enough to get 2 drivers that are scored to be consistent over the course of those 10 races.
And that's why CRT have kind of had a disastrous fall. Artie Mercedes and Luis Grullon, they've teamed up for CRT1. They looked like they were going to easily win this team's championship, but both of them have had bad races over the past couple of weeks, and they only have 2 drivers to choose from. So if one of them has a bad race, or even both of them has a bad race, that's basically a write-off for that entire race and their team's championship chances. They're not out of it. They're only 100 points back, so it's still very possible that they could get back in the conversation, but there's no margin for error for CRT. There's no margin for error for anybody other than a few teams that have 3 cars in their lineup.
And of course, that means that qualifying, where drivers get themselves underway, going to be very important, because we know just how crazy these race starts can truly be, especially as we climb up towards the start line here at Road America to see the green flag. A long run then down in towards turn number 1. The drivers are out there for qualifying right now. Before we take a look at the times, let's thank all that make this possible, starting with Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. It's a long track. There's plenty of opportunities to run yourself afoul of the grass and invalidate your lap time, but so far, with almost 15 minutes burned in the qualifying session, 35,000 splits the top 3. Luis Grullon in 3rd, Eric Kulaga, in 2nd, and then Tyler Graf provisionally on pole position.
So it could be a pretty big day for Tyler Graf. He's a guy with a lot of experience in this car, and he's a guy with a lot of experience here on RaceSpotTV. He's made his PRL entrance this season, wanted to do even more league racing in this BMW, as if he didn't get enough of it on Monday nights in the Lionheart Sports Car Series. Andrew Trickett, though, he's one of the many Ferraris in the field. Very popular selection for a lot of drivers this season. Not going to be fast enough for him, though. He's going to stay in the P6 position. He's actually going to gain 4 spots, but it's not going to be enough.
Not going to be enough just yet for him. No improvement for Jason Finch, but can see as Tyler Groff resets the pit lane with a fixed setup, probably not going to see him improve on time. He'll be watching to see if the likes of Kulaga and Grullon can find a bit more speed. There's Grullon, though, who peels to the side on what is seemingly a setup, warm-up lap for the tires to get ready to go for one final flyer. He'll be quite happy to see himself back up towards the front right now, but qualifying's only step one. There's 35 minutes of racing to come after this.
And this is a fixed setup series, so you can't take fuel out of the car in qualifying. You basically want to be on the longest run possible in this 20-minute session to expend as much fuel as you can, make that car as light as possible with 1 lap to go. When Grullon crosses the line here, there's going to be over 2 minutes, but Jeff Carollo, this is his favorite track. This is where he's had his most success in PRL history. He's put it on pole.
Oh goodness, that Porsche out of nowhere, but only by 25 thousandths of a second. That's the remarkable thing. The margins up towards the front are truly very, very close, and we'll see who still has something left to run. Eric Kulaga is directly behind and in the tow, so you would expect these two to be fast and furious to run themselves to the end of the qualifying session. The lap times just over 2 minutes means that these drivers will get potentially an additional lap beyond the one that they're on. But as Sully Saad greets Barney the Flagman, it's with a 1/10 of a second improvement, up to 13th for the 079.
He'll get 2 more laps because he crossed the line with about 2:15 to go. We haven't actually had a repeat pole sitter all season. It was Luis Grullon in race 1, then Artie Mercedes, Sully Saad, Kevin Santana, Felix Feliz. It could be 6 for 6 with Jeff Carollo on pole right now, but there's still a couple more drivers who do want to get that second pole of the season. Luke Davis hasn't had a pole, but he's much further down than he would like. He's only at 1 more chance here. He wants to jump up from 33rd.
Yeah, and that was another one of the drivers just seemingly setting up. And like Joey mentioned, these drivers are burning off fuel. Neil Alexander will be one of the final drivers to get to the line to be able to finish off this lap, of course. And we'll see where the rest of the field runs from here. There's Barney the Flagman perched up with what are pretty good track conditions, all things considered. 92 degrees Fahrenheit, not much humidity. It's not been getting too much warmer either, Joey. It's great. It's a great time to find some speed at the end of the session.
Evidently, climate change has come to even virtual Wisconsin, though, because it's the 20th of October. It's supposed to be the middle of autumn, and it's still 82 degrees. It's too warm. We need to start getting some real fall temps here.
Who's going to find some more improvement? Artie Mercedes and the Seabow Racing Machine up towards the line and up into 5th position as well. Will pull to the side of the track. Going to be no further improvement there as cars rolling out of pit lane for what will not actually be lap times on the board. Michael Kulaga is going to be the one that leads a couple of drivers up through to the line and crucially giving a bit of a tow on the run to that start-finish timing beam.
Kulaga, is he going to improve at all? It doesn't look like he's going to improve anything meaningful. I'm surprised, by the way, that Artie Mercedes pulled off after his final lap because he doesn't have enough time to make it to the line again. He could have gone around for 1 more lap and maybe jumped up from 5th, but maybe he thought his run in the front stretch was already bad enough that he wouldn't be able to improve on it. Sully Saad is up by about 1/10 on the timing, and he crosses the line, loses about 4/10 through the final corner. He's not going to improve, but he gets 1 more shot at it. There's about 9 seconds left on the clock. Once the checkered flag flies, laps will count. And never mind, no more shots for Sully Saad.
That's the commentator's curse right there. Hashtag blame Joey. Kevin Berquist pips Michael Fowler, but I don't think he got to the line in time to be able to go again, and indeed he will pull to the side and call it a day. He will be first up then to see the checkered. Next, Dino Vella, who is down in 30th position in that 136. He's got some time to find. Up towards the front though, Carollo still on track, still provisional pole. Graf watching on from pit lane. Kulaga watching on from pit lane. Grullon still out there and challenging as well. So there are a handful still with opportunities to improve. There's a couple of cars, one going off into the gravel and one practicing a pit entry.
There's a nice little anti-climax. 2 drivers coming through the final corner and throwing it off the road in their own special ways. Here's your pole sitter, Jeff Carollo. I think he's already just shown that he's not going to improve on this lap as he clips the gravel out of Canada corner. That is not conducive to speed, but he's still going for it through the final corner. Looks like he's about 5/10 down right now on our predictor. So is he going to take this chance to go for a pit entry? Yes, he is. Probably a smart decision.
And this is not ideal for Luis Grullon because he's now gone and checked up in through Bill Mitchell Bend behind Michael Kulaga, this is maybe a bit closer than you want to be to take advantage of the toe and really closes into that final corner. Mackenzie's up into the top 10 as well, but can Grullon reassert himself on pole? We'll find out. The run to the line, the climb up under the NTT bridge, and the Seabow Racing car will be ducking its nose to the line. A 2:04.9 breaks under the 2:05s and back on top for Grullon.
Even with getting horrifically held up by Michael Kulaga through the final sector, that tells you how good of a lap that was setting up to be for Luis Grullon. And he's going to be the first driver all season to get 2 poles now. He started at the back here in the championship with some disqualifications and some penalties, but this could be the start of his charge back forward.
Ross Sortino jumps back up into the top 5. He's been consistently up and amongst things over the course of the season, but that is everyone done with the qualifying session. Grullon back on top, and you mentioned the margin that he's got to close. Joey, it's 50-something points with 5 races to go. The margin up the front, a 1/10.5 of a second, going to be quite good, but we know just how important the draft is going to be, and fuel saving through the 35-minute race with 1 pit stop surely going to play a factor.
It's going to be a big strategy race, and it's not impossible for Luis Grullon to make up that big margin with 5 races to go, especially considering that you can't drop the final race. So if he can get himself within mathematical contention into the final race, he's in with the shot in the final race no matter what, but he has to make up a lot of points. He needs to be making up 5 to 10 points every single race in the likes of Kulaga and Hamilton and Walden if he wants any real shot at winning this championship. This is exactly what he needed to do, though, put it on pole.
Well, and the good thing is, this series rewards winning. There's a bigger gulf between first and second, Joey, than it is between any of the other positions.
That is true. It's not quite as much as it is on the oval side, but you still get 2 bonus points for, well, you get a bonus point for pole, you get a bonus point for fastest lap, and also you get 3 extra points compared to second, so you could get as many as 5 points over second place with a Grand Slam.
And so those are all very, very valuable opportunities. We get a full formation lap for the drivers to build some temperature into their tires for the 35 minutes, the 17 odd laps of racing that we're going to see. Let's run you down through how they'll line up to kick off the second half of the season. And, well, for Luis Grullon, it's a welcome sight back on top, and with a 2:04.949, he'll be delighted to be the only driver to break into the 2:04 bracket. Jeff Carollo alongside will be thrilled with his performance in qualifying. Joey mentioned how much he loves the track. Let's see how he enjoys the strategy games that we see out there. Tyler Graf alongside Eric Kulaga will be on row number 2 with Graf's best qualifying performance since joining the PRL GT3 ranks. Ross Sortino and then Artie Mercedes share row number 3. It's 7th for Felix Felice, 8th for Andrew Trickett, with Colin McKenzie, the best of the Scuderia Lunatic Racing gang. Douglas Corey will be alongside to round out your top 10. It's Buck Hamilton and Dale Peterson in 11th and 12th positions. Waldo Walden hoping not to be unlucky 13th, with Stephen Martinez in the Vulture Motorsport South number 53 to his outside. It'll be Sully Saad and Michael Kulaga sharing row 8. Jason Finch and Jim Feliz sharing row number 9, and bookending your top 20, Peter Moller and Robert Jeffries. Jochen Backer and Alex Wright 21st and 22nd, with Neil Alexander and Kevin Santana sharing row 12, and amongst the first cars just 1 second off of pole position. The field going to be rather close and compact on these opening laps. Michael Fowler, Christopher Rhines, Ryan Miller, Matthew Saint-Aubin, and John Jones, Ian Cabana. They make up the rest of your top 30, with Dino Vella, Kevin Berquist, and then Luke Davis and Sean Mulholland, the final drivers, within 2 seconds and really with representative lap times. Malcolm Foster, David Morris, 35th and 36th positions, will be the final 2 drivers to get us underway for a monster night of racing here at America's National Park of Speed. And a monster wall of faces gets ready to go. You can ignore those 3 faces from the right-hand corner, basically. But Jeff Carollo, Ian Cabana, and Matthew Saint-Aubin are on the top, joined by Rob Jeffries just below the wall of track maps that Jeff Carollo has. Always great to see the look behind the scenes, Joey, at the drivers getting underway.
He's got Road Atlanta, Watkins Glen, Coda, Sebring, Imola, Interlagos, Barcelona, and the Red Bull Ring. I am shocked and horrified that Road America isn't on there. What are you doing, Jeff? You got to get that up there.
Is there maybe more track maps behind, and these are just the ones that fit there? I will say he's only really got room for that many, because you can see that he's squeezed. Is that the Circuit of the Americas right under where the wall kind of comes up?
Okay, he found just enough room for it, but I want to see Road America proudly displayed. Jeff has been so good here in the past, where he had a fantastic podium the first time I ever saw him in the PRL. I'm gonna get a hold of him and tell him, put Road America up there, give it the place it deserves.
Clearly, he doesn't love Road America as much as he does some of those other tracks up there. Nick McLaughlin, Vincent Trepanier, and Kwoknin, those other 3 drivers, by the way, will be underway for the GT3 Sprint Series, also here at Road America, and well, going on just under an hour's time. They're giving the pace car a little bit of margin as they head up through the hurry downs, getting some temperature into the tires as mentioned before. And I've got the question of you, Joey. We know that every corner here at Road America is realistically a passing opportunity. How hard would you fight on the opening couple of laps?
Very, especially if I'm up front, because when Luis Grullon has gotten up front this season, he's been basically untouchable. So if you're Jeff Carollo or any of those drivers, Tyler Graff, Eric Kulaga up there in the top 5, you're going to want to pounce very, very early, maybe the run into turn 5 when everybody's still close together. If you can get the chance to dive to the inside of Grullon, you're going to want to go for it, because you don't want to let that guy lead races, because he loves to pull away and he loves to dominate.
If you are, let's say, 10th or 12th in the pack, though, are you going to be a little bit more conservative? Because we know turn 1, turn 5, turn 7, these are some of the major drama, the major choke points on the opening lap. And Road America's old school. Not only is it fast, but look there at the kink. There's only wall and grass on either side of the track.
Here's my advice for those guys starting back there. For, 11th, Buck Hamilton, Dale Peterson, Waldo Walden, that whole pack of Ferraris right outside the top 10. Turn 1, you know how you normally brake for that? Don't do it. Full throttle. Bang through. That's how you win.
Someone's going to be investigated by poor Arnaud Genet after the race for causing chaos.
I just revealed my strategy for Martinsville tomorrow night.
Oh, is that where you're racing tomorrow?
Full throttle. Just bowling ball everybody out of the way.
Ross Chastain, how many laps is that race?
Too many.
So Ross Chastaining it for too many laps is what you're going to do?
Maybe.
Once again, they're giving the pace car a lot of margin as we get ready to go up into that final corner, and you best believe it is a climb. It's going to be Luis Grullon, the first repeat pole sitter of this final season in 2023 that does not hang about immediately as we head out of the final corner. Front 3 rows have gone. Behind, a little bit more stagnant as they all finally get the memo. Grullon, though, will lead as Jeff Carollo, Tyler Graff, and Eric Kulaga all now tuck into line. The first moment of side-by-side is Andrew Trickett and Colin McKenzie all the way back for 8th and 9th positions. Down through turns 1 and into 2 and 3 we will go. It's single file inside of the top 10.
These guys clearly think cleanliness is godliness right now, because that was a very clean start with everybody spread out. They're still side by side in the kind of problem area I mentioned before with some of the Porsches and some of the Ferraris. But as they come through turn 3 down the middle straight here for the first time, that is a remarkably clean lap 1. This is always a pinch point here, though, in turn 5, the heaviest braking zone in the track, and Sortino's already trying to take advantage of it.
And the green Ferrari overshoots the braking zone. Back underneath, Kulaga and Mercedes will get on through. Sortino able to block off the momentum for Felix Felicis under that Corvette bridge through turn 6. There's chaos behind. Robert Jeffries, Alex Wright pinched around at turn number 5, and it's caused more chaos. Berquist Jones have to get on the anchors to avoid running into the back of those.
And John Jones was basically stuck there for a while. He didn't want to push the issue and make things even worse, which was courteous of him, but it has sent him all the way to the back of the pack. Carollo got caught napping at the start, by the way. He wasn't really able to stick with Grullon as close as he wanted to. He's still with him coming through the kink here, but you need to be within about 2 or 3 tenths if you want to go for a move into Canada corner. He's not quite close enough this time.
Ross Sortino definitely lost some momentum out of the carousel, and he's now being hounded by Felix Felice for what is 6th and 7th positions. Into Canada corner, though. No moves offered inside of the top 5. No moves offered, really, inside of the top 15. They've very much all gotten down to the task at hand, and look at how much they've already split themselves up. 20 seconds splits first through 35th positions, and that's only with one minor bit of drama down at turn number 5. End of lap number 1. Carollo still puts the pressure onto Luis Grullon.
He's done a good job of recovering. He's only about 4 tenths back, but he needs to be that little bit closer if he wants to think about an overtake. He's got a little bit of help with the draft. He's definitely going to be holding on in a straight line. That Porsche maybe not quite as quick in a straight line as the Ferrari, and he's got to wait for another long straight to get a shot. There goes already Mercedes past his fellow BMW, though, for fourth.
And now, can Eric Kulaga settle into line? Championship leader, Joker on the back bumper of the BMW M4 GT3 after switching over from that Ford. It's been a steady start to the season, but look at how Ross Sortino, slightly better exit out of what is numbered as turn number 3. Heading down the back straightaway in towards turn number 5. There's a Porsche that's booked out of line behind. That, I believe, is Felix Felice trying to cover off Andrew Trickett, who's going the long way around. Sortino goes up the inside. Trickett shows that going the outside can sometimes compromise you. The 514 stuck in 8th for now.
Not work out for Trickett. It was a good move from Sortino. He was able to kind of back things up and actually make the corner in turn 5 this time, so good for him. That's going to be good points for BNO Racing. Both him and Andrew Trickett representing that team in the top 10 in that fight for the team's championship. They've got a lot of progress to make, though. Ross Sortino especially is looking forward, looking at every point in that team's championship. As things stand, he would be making up 1 point on championship leader Eric Kulaga, but he wants to make up many, many more than that.
In through the kink, Tyler Groff is holding steady with Grullon and Carollo in that breakaway. Already Mercedes after getting past Kulaga. Ross Sortino, of course, getting through as well. Now trying to close a 2-second gap and, more importantly, 7/10 into the drafting range. They've all very much settled down for now, and, well, let's go back to the opening lap. And, Joey, take a look at down in through turn number 5, what we thought might be one of the choke points.
It was very late in the brakes for Alex Wright, and then just a little bit of an argument with one of the Porsches ends up looping him around. All things considered, that could have been far worse, because the only driver involved was John Jones, who basically just had to park it to not get involved. I'm not entirely sure who that Porsche was, but Wright was just exceptionally late in the brakes. He did make the corner, but then just a little bit of an argument on corner exit, and he gets himself looped around. I think that may have been the
Robert Jeffries.
Robert Jeffries.
8:03 as Tyler Groff, fastest lap of the race, shows that that provisional pole that he had for quite a while in qualifying, backed up by race pace as well. Mercedes slightly defensive down in towards turn number 3, feeling the need to cover off any potential move, and further back side by side through turn 1, Michael Fowler, Neil Alexander descend down on that run into the back straight.
Surprised how low in the order Michael Fowler is here. He's been very quick at times in qualifying, especially last season when he did his little half season when he made his PRL debut. We saw him in the top 10. I don't think that Mercedes is really doing what he wants it to. It's not the most popular car in the field. I think he's one of only 2 Mercedes in the field. And if there wasn't a 20-point penalty for car switches, I think he would be thinking about changing that thing.
That's the thing that keeps things interesting, though, right? Official series, you can jump between cars freely if you want, with no penalty here. You very much have to stick to what you pick early in the season, and you're rewarded. Maybe not in this particular series for finding speed in the setup. That's something that maybe more comes into play when we talk about the GT3 Sprint Series. Coming up after this, Jeff Carollo shows us, though, the view over the shoulder in that Porsche, and, well, through the kink, it's minimized the wheel input, and try and not run too close to the grass on the outside. Luis Grullon maybe flirted a little bit more with the grass than I would feel comfortable with.
We're really testing the exposure settings of Jeff's camera here. He's got a dark room with a bright screen, and that's really doing a number on those lenses. But Grullon made a big mistake there, as I was distracted by the screens. He bobbled out of Canada corner. That tells me that he's not unbeatable. He's not infallible right now. He's bobbling around a little bit. Sully Saad is bobbling even more, though, or Jim Felice, actually, in an identically painted car.
Yeah, they're both white Porsches. They don't make it easy for us sometimes out there on track. And to be fair, let's also call out Lunatic Racing, who are also usually pretty good in keeping their liveries differentiated, but their special liveries for the month of October, which we'll touch on at least 2 more times this week and next week, unfortunately do make it slightly harder for us. This is what happened, though, in towards Canada corner, and was that self-inflicted?
Looks like it was, just too late in the brakes, and that's very easy to do. It's one of the heaviest braking zones on the track. If you lose focus for just a moment, you can easily throw it off the road. Trying to get by one of the Precision Racing esports drivers, and I think he just gets himself a little bit distracted, brakes far too late. Very lucky not to take out the driver in front of him, and does end up saving it with some grippy gravel, but that was a scary moment for Jim Felice.
Almost like he was trying to go off to Canada there, it would seem. And Fortunately, that new grass model, the way it's worked out, kept him on the track, and we'll see how he's able to recover after that off-track excursion. You see two Seabao Racing machines, Grullon first, Mercedes fourth, and now with Mercedes closing in slowly on the back of Tyler Graf, has brought himself within the drafting range. And this is where, for Tyler Graf, very much on the danger zone. Danger of being dropped by the top two, danger on being latched onto by those behind.
I call it the lonely zone right now because he wants to fight for this win, but he can't because Grullon and Carollo have been so fast and they've been just separated enough that they haven't really been able to fight. They haven't been running side by side. They haven't been slowing each other down. They've just both been running away from poor old Tyler. He might have the fastest lap of the race, but he's just not quite as consistent as the guys ahead. He set the fastest lap 2 laps ago, and then on the previous lap, he was 3/10 slower than Grullon in the lead. He's still around there. He's going to be in the fight for the podium, but he's going to have to find some speed here if he wants to make up any of that gap, or hope that the two guys up front start running into each other. That's what he's really hoping for.
We're already 4 laps into this, so at this point, even with the cool conditions, the way that you're managing the tires is definitely going to come into play. It's somewhat calm right now, and so let's cycle through some of those drivers who are sharing their onboard perspectives with us as, well, Rob Jeffries picks up a little bit of the grass, doesn't look too perturbed about that as he rises up towards the line. He's got Ryan Miller, Christopher Rines, and Dino Vella all hunting him down.
I love that he's got the printer in the background.
It's a proper
I'm choosing to believe
too.
that it's like, I'm believing that it's like the 80s and he, after a race, he like goes over there to print out telemetry and stuff.
Print out telemetry? No, they've what are those machines? The ones that they have for like lie detector tests that I'm now polygraphs, those ones.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, we might need that for him too.
You know what I'm talking about though? Those wire tracing machiney thingies?
Yeah, like thinking about a dot matrix printer too. There's all sorts of things you could be doing back there.
Modern technology.
We're on to you, Robert.
Modern technologies. Further back in this queue, by the way, as they plunge down in towards turn 5, and oh, that's a late lunge from the 46 of Ryan Miller, and I think he's going to just about hold on to his own car. Fortunately, has a teammate in Christopher Rines behind, so not going to take a look, but further back in this line, Matthew Saint-Aubin is going to take advantage of a slight mistake there for Jim Feliz up the inside of the fast turn 7.
It's kind of an insane Bob Jeffries train here, and Jim Feliz throws it off the road for the second time in 2 corners. That's going to make Matthew Saint-Aubin's job very easy. And that's going to make life far easier for one of the this Luke Davis in the lunatic Ferrari right behind. But this is all because Rob Jeffries has just kind of been a cork in the bottle here. Ian Cabana's in the train as well. That's not where the corner goes though. Ian clips a little bit of the grass, and that's going to scupper his momentum. Luckily for him, there's about 17 cars in front of him though that are getting held up in the train, so he's not going to lose too much.
I don't believe that heart rate monitor is working. 1, because it says 90. That's a remarkably low heart rate for being this deep in a gaggle of cars. But also 2, because, oh, there it goes. It's just spiked. I was about to say that it hasn't moved once, and there it finally updated. 110 seems a little bit more reasonable for this level of intensity in racing right now.
It's old cold-blooded Cabana. He's like a reptile.
Well, you're now making me think of all the villains in Spider-Man that I've been enjoying playing on my PlayStation, but that's for after tonight's racing. Back up to the line. These are drivers fighting for 23rd position, but boy, what a gaggle they've got. Let's check back up towards the front, though, where Tyler Graf still very much in the lonely zone, as Joey Tebman refers to it. Luis Grullon, Jeff Carollo still running 1 and 2. The likes of Colin McKenzie now trying to work past Douglas Corey with a terrible run out of turn number 3.
Colin McKenzie, lead driver for Lunatic right now. He's not been the Colin McKenzie of the past this season. He hasn't quite been fighting for wins like we've seen him do in the past, but he's having a good day so far today. He's moving forward very wide, though, out of turn 5. That's going to let Corey still get another shot up the hill here in turn 6. That's where the line is optimal on the inside. He's going to give McKenzie just enough room to keep trying to stick it. He's going to have to slot in line, though. He's not able to make it work the long way around.
And this little couple of corners of fighting, Corey still being defensive, is costing them time. They're now 2.2 back from Trickett in the B&O 514. And through the carousel, Corey instantly covers the inside. This is going to allow Colin McKenzie to potentially get a good run off the corner, but he's going to have to time his launch onto the throttle nicely. Seabao Racing BMW gets out of the corner well, but now feeding the toe all the way through the kink. Mackenzie a bit too wide though, onto the grass, just about holds on to it but loses crucial momentum on the run into Canada corner. Buck Hamilton not going to be close enough, you think, to have a look to the inside. Half shows the nose of the Ferrari, but that Seabout 18 holds on to 9th for now.
Very lucky he was able to keep that wheel pointed straight when he clipped the grass there. That's what you have to do when you're through the kink there. If you put too much steering lock in and you try and steer off the grass back onto the asphalt, the difference in friction can easily spit you into that inside wall. And everybody keeps it alive here. Waldo Walden is a championship contender this season against all odds with his consistency, with the speed he's shown at a few tracks. If he can stay consistent, he's definitely going to be in this championship fight. P12's not where he wants to be, and what in the world is happening through the final corner?
Usually the question is, where in the world is Waldo Walden? But yes, what is happening through the final quarter? Battle for 24th has really started to pick up. Ryan Miller's been shoved off the track. Not sure where he's deposited as a result of this. But look at them juking up in towards the opening corner. They're almost 2 by 2, running in towards turn number 1. It is going to be Luke Davis up to 24th for the time being. But as they continue to work through, who's going to continue to take advantage? And that's Neil Alexander, pulled to the side of the track and now backed down on pit lane.
It's been the twilight zone here for the last couple of corners. Halloween's next week, guys. Stop scaring us like this. But there was a dead car there. There was Ryan Miller's car just parked on the inside of the final quarter as well. It's been a mysterious last couple of laps, and it's all come from all these drivers who were stuck behind Robert Jeffries. Eventually, the train was kind of broken up. Jim Feliz is going to be able to go around the outside of Jeffries right there in turn 5. So some drivers are starting to run away, but there's still about 10 still stuck behind this train.
And that was a big send from Dino Vella. Matthew St-Aubin really couldn't do too much about it except flash the lights in frustration. We'll be side by side with Mulholland through turn number 7, and somehow they just about get away with that. Got 2 Ferraris behind Ian Cabana, John Jones, the blue and yellow, the blue and orange machines with slightly different shades of blue, to be fair to them, getting it sorted out and in towards that carousel section. Already now single file once again. Here's what happened though to the poor 46 of Ryan Miller. No fault of his own there, went off the track, and I'm not sure if he felt comfortable rejoining into the path of anybody.
Well, I'm not sure who the contact was originally. It was Robert Jeffries and one other Porsche ahead of him. I think it may have been Jim Feliz. And I think that's what really kicked everything off. They were side by side up the hill. It was Dino Vella, actually, who almost gets turned. And then Miller gets a little bit of target fixation, chooses to go off the road to avoid everything, and then does just do the courteous thing and let everybody by instead of rejoining. But that's going to hurt quite a bit. It's his birthday tomorrow, so he's going to be hoping for some birthday recovery. And Neil Alexander, that's a written-off Ferrari instantly.
Oh, and it keeps going. It's not done, and that explains a lot. Oh, that's hellacious. They don't get much bigger than that. Turn 1 at Road America. And now, with only 15 minutes complete, your eyes don't deceive you. It's Tyler Graf and Joachim Backer onto pit lane, and onto pit lane early, Joey.
It is early, but it's not impossibly early. We're only about a lap away from halfway, and Tyler Graf was definitely not in the position he wanted to be. He's thinking strategy right now. He's thinking, how can I get back in contention with Grullon and Carollo? He says, you know what? I'll bring it down pit lane. I'll find some clean air, and I'll hope that what's happening right now starts to happen. Carollo closes the gap down and maybe starts to spice things up front. He was about a second back 2 laps ago, and he's already recovered to put a little bit more pressure on Grullon. Still not close enough to think about making a move just yet, though.
Waldo Walden is dropping down the timing screen, by the way. We'll figure out what happened to him shortly, but look at this pressure up towards the front. This is what Road America is all about, right? Even if you're not fighting wheel to wheel, it's that high pressure, the high speed intensity that we see over the shoulder. I will say it's a rather interesting driving position for Jeff Carollo. Quite upright. He's got the steering wheel basically at a 90-degree angle to the floor. Seems to work for him, and that's the beauty of sim rigs, right, Joey? You always have the ability to dial it in to be comfortable for you. Would you go to pit lane if you're Carollo, though, and feeling slow behind Grullon, who makes a mistake?
I'm going to take the lead right there. Free. Luis Grullon throws it off the road. He's going to pit anyway and minimize his losses. But Jeff Carollo is going to take the lead either way there, and you can see his face. He's saying, thank you very much. I didn't expect that to happen, but I'll take the lead all the same.
Was that Luis Grullon getting a bit confused and thinking, and a late call to pit lane maybe slipping him off the track? Well, The damage has been done. That's 2 or 3 crucial seconds, and now Seabow Racing Team followed in by plenty of cars for what will be a crucial cycle of pit lane sequences. Joey, let's take a look at what happened, though, to poor Waldo Walden.
Or Waldo Walden, it was a Ferrari gaggle. It was a cloud of them. Dale Peterson and one of the Lunatic Racing cars as well. I don't know if any of them were involved there. No, they weren't. That was Waldo just clipping a curb and clipping a little bit of gravel just wrong. He got 2 tires on the grass, 2 tires on the asphalt. And as I said, that difference in coefficients of friction, a little bit more slippy on one side than the other, that's the easy ticket to a spin. I don't know much about physics. That's all I know.
Yeah, you never want to trust a commentator's math, and by that virtue, definitely don't trust commentators' physics. Felix Felice on the back of Eric Kulaga, who dropped now 7.5 seconds off the back of the race leader, Jeff Carollo, but managing the point situation, the championship leader doing just enough. For those that have already pitted, by the way, Luis Grullon's come out, well, I don't want to say in traffic, Joey, but this is not ideal by any means. Robert Jeffries, Alex Wright, and John Jones all directly in front. Now, in one sense, this is good. Draft being fed to the 14. I guess in some other ways, it's a little bit more painful.
Yeah, this is not good. He's directly in traffic right now. These are 2 guys who are almost a second a lap or more slower than him. He's going to catch Robert Jeffries here in a matter of about 2 corners. He's lucky that Carollo's probably going to come in this lap or the next, but if I was Carollo right now, I'd be looking at my relative, and I'd be seeing Luis Grullon getting held up right now and maybe go around for 1 extra lap if I have the fuel to do it, extend my gap even more. He's not going to be able to do. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He must have been looking at his relative, seeing that Grullon's stuck in a pack of cars, and he's going to try and extend that gap even more.
Mystic Joey makes an appearance. And maybe that's telepathic communication over to Jeff Carollo as well. Kulaga also able to extend, but Sortino, Felice, and seemingly Corey and Hamilton going to have to duck down towards the pit lane. This is where the pain will be felt, though, for Grullon. In towards Bill Mitchell Bend, though, final mini sector of the lap. Robert Jeffries directly in front. No quarter being given just yet. It's going to have to come out of the final corner. This almost sent him off the road once more.
This is terrible for Luis Grullon, and it's not going to end because Jeffries is staying out. He's still going out there and fighting. I don't think he knows that Luis is the race leader on a different strategy, but even if he did know that, he has no reason to let him by. They're still fighting for track position right now. It's still going to make Luis all that more unhappy. He's going to peek a nose to the inside into turn 1. Not able to be late enough on the brakes, though. This is paying off beautifully for Jeff Carollo. He could have a massive lead by the time he comes in.
Robert Jeffries is Jeff Carollo's best friend right now, and take a look at that onboard perspective down out of turn 3. And this is where, with fixed setups as well, Grullon does not have the ability to have dialed out a little bit of wing from that car. He's left in the hands of the iRacing setup makers, but builds the speed down in towards turn 5, peeks to the inside, flash the lights from Arnie Mercedes and the fellow Seabow Racing car. One of them gets on through. Jeffries will see the other follow as well in the BMW, with a bit of contact to boot as well.
I think Artie was angry on his teammates' behalf there, but he gets through all the same. Robert is laughing a little bit. I think he was somewhat displeased about the flashing of the lights behind, but all the same, that's going to be resolved. And now Artie is putting the pressure on his teammate, but I guarantee these 2 are in communication right now. They're on the same strategy, which is kind of shocking that they found each other on track. That's actually the fight for second now, but I don't think there will be too much of a fight between them 2. And here comes Jeff.
And so the question will be, how long is this pit stop? Carollo, fortunately, doesn't seem to have an issue with the uphill run towards the cones. It can sometimes be difficult to make sure you stay below the below the speed limit on the blind crest. Everyone else behind who has not pitted, basically 11 cars, will now roll their way down pit lane. But as Luis Grullon dips down through Canada corner, we can watch over the shoulder of Jeff Carollo, still not in his pit box.
If he can have a normal pit stop here, though, this is going to be very, very pretty sitting for Jeff Carollo. If you look at the outlap for Luis Grullon after getting held up, 2:37. The outlap for Artie Mercedes, the outlap for Dale Peterson and the like, 2:35.8. So it was almost 2 seconds lost for Artie, or for Luis Grullon, and now just Jeff Carollo comes out of the pits. It's going to be pretty comfortable.
And you look at that. You say comfortable, I say country mile. In towards turn 1, Eric Kulaga is going to come out alongside or just behind Andrew Trickett. But it is Jeff Carollo with almost 4-second advantage that leads at Road America after an impressive qualifying performance. Championship leader directly though back out into a battle, and Trickett tries to switch back underneath.
This is scary stuff when you come out of the pits alongside somebody in turn one. It's a difficult corner to run side by side in normal racing conditions, let alone when somebody's coming up at about 100 more miles per hour than you. Kulaga did a good job of hanging on though. Trickett's in the draft in the Ferrari. He's going to be later on the brakes, but he is going to have to slot back in line. That's good for championship leader Kulaga. That means he's still only losing 1 point to Sortino ahead of him. It's not looking good for him with Jeff Carollo in the championship fight as well, though. 4 seconds in the lead. 17th,
still in the mid-pack. They're fighting. Jochen Bakker. See Steven Martinez get on through in the Vulture Motorsports number 53. Kevin Santana has climbed up 7 positions already so far, but he's not the biggest mover of the day. That goes to Luke Davis in the number 72 for Scuderia Lunatic Racing. 10 positions gained for him, although we still have 12 minutes to go with the pit stop cycle being done. This is a bit early to have seen everyone down and have finished their splash of fuel. I think, Joey, part of that is just the fact that Road America, so much time spent at full throttle. It's a fuel-thirsty track.
It's a very long lap, so it's not necessarily a fuel window. It's more like a fuel slat, where there's basically 1 or 2 laps where you have to come in or else you're out of luck. It's kind of shocking to see all 4 of those drivers back there, though, because those are drivers who have been on pole and on the podium this season. They're all fighting for about 17th, 18th, and 20th, because it's Road America. It's the great equalizer. Anybody can win here. There's lots of drivers with a ton of experience here that are kind of punching above their weight, and Felix Feliz is punching it off the track.
And he's going to now get passed shortly by Dale Peterson as well, because so much momentum has been lost that before they even get to the line, Feliz down to 9th. Now, can Colin McKenzie close even more in that Scuderia Lunatic Racing car? Feliz was involved with Trickett and Kulaga, and now Peterson's giving a bit of draft to the fellow Ferrari behind for a moment. So much gamesmanship going on into turn number 1.
I don't think that's going to give very much help, but it was worth a try. It was worth Dale, giving a little bit of help. But McKenzie is a lone wolf right now out of turn 3. He's very close to the back of Felix Feliz, and Feliz is going to be struggling right now because he's got a little bit of dirt in his tires. He's a little bit rattled because he did throw it off the road. Now is the time to pounce if you're Colin McKenzie. Unfortunately, a little bit too far back here down the middle straight into turn 5. He's got to wait yet again and wait for another mistake from Felix Feliz. It's one of the best tracks in the country for passing, but it's also one of the most frustrating tracks in the country for passing, because you do have to wait for quite a while if you can't get by.
They really have just all managed to find each other in little battle packs through the course of this race. Let's go back and take a look at why Felix Feliz lost a bit of time at the RaceSpotTV replay machine. And, well, slight self-mistake there trying to get past Andrew Trickett. Overcommits, overcompromise himself. Down in through that final corner. Back up towards second, though, where Jeff Carollo still holds his margin towards Luis Grullon, but Artie Mercedes is there. Tyler Graf is there as well. It's a 3-way fight for the final 2 steps of the podium.
I don't know how they're going to handle this between the 2 teammates, because Artie Mercedes is much closer to being able to fight for the team's championship. He's only 22 points back from Eric Kulaga. Grullon is over 50 points back. He's in big danger, but there's Felix Feliz. I said mistakes happen, they stack up, and that is stacked up in a very big way, taking out one of his teammates as well.
That's Buck Hamilton, and that's major. That is major in the team championship for SGE, and now here comes Kevin Santana, Steven Martinez, Peter Muller, Jason Finch, and Jochen Bakker. Oh, that Ferrari is done. The Ferrari is toasted. Hamilton pulls to the side and trying to take advantage. Great job there from Peter Muller up the inside of Jason Finch.
Oh, that taking advantage of your situations, well done. Colin McKenzie, though, has to bring it down pit lane. I think he made contact with Felix Feliz before that all happened, and he's reached the incident limit. You only get 13 incident points in the PRL before you have to serve a drive-through, and poor old Colin McKenzie has already come afoul of that.
And that is unfortunate. Into turn 1. Is it going to be Peter Muller and Jason Finch swapping back around? Yes, it is. The SRT Esports car confidently around the outside. Can Michael Fowler potentially, Jochen Bakker, excuse me, follow as well? No, he's not going to be able to do so. Colin McKenzie is going to re-emerge in 22nd position. That is an unfortunate and costly mistake there when it came to just being a foul of the incident limit. Felix Feliz had lost it by himself. And Buck Hamilton seemingly with nowhere to go.
Absolutely nowhere to go. Let's see how this started in the first place. That's Felix Feliz in the Porsche. Colin McKenzie is miles behind him through the kink, so I think there may have been a little bit of, there's some live action drama behind, but up on the top there is Felix all on his own through the kink, and it's so narrow through there. You just end up bouncing straight in the path of other cars, and old Buck Hamilton was totally blind behind Sully Saad there. He could not avoid that with anything he could have done.
So Jason Finch has dropped, Peter Muller has dropped. Whole bunch of stuff happened while we were taking a look at a big incident down through the kink, but it seems to rain and pour when it comes to incidents. Not much happens for quite a while, and then seemingly quite a bit all at once. Down into turn 5, Muller on the inside, and, well, Jochen Backer says, thank you very much, let me squeak on through.
Michael Fowler does as well, but this is the pack of drivers I was talking about. There's drivers like Jochen Backer who have been on the podium this season. There's drivers who have been quick and been in the top 5 in qualifying, like everybody else. But there's a little bit of an argument in turn 5, a little bit of contact, a little bit of turnaround. That's just typical Road America turn 5 things.
So you got to wonder if anyone else is now going to be getting closer and closer to towards that incident limit. With only 7 minutes to go, that means that we got 4 laps still left to run through the course of the field. And down through the opening sector, it's still now 3.5 seconds, but crucially, the gap has slowly been coming down.
Well, that's a big exit for Artie Mercedes at a turn 3. He's actually going to have a shot at his teammate if he really wants to go for it, but he hasn't shown much intention to do that. We've seen these guys they've been good teammates. They know they're fighting for the team's championship. They have no points to fall back on, so Artie once again just slots back in line, stays behind his teammate, lets him take control. I think Artie right now is holding on to hope that Luis might be able to close down that gap to Jeff Carollo and make all 3 of them parts of the fight for the win, but that's going to be a big ask to make up 3.6 seconds with only 3 laps to go.
Yep. We are also kind of seeing, though, that in terms of the weather conditions, pretty optimal. Yes, you were saying that maybe a bit warmer than you'd expect here at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin in the closing stages of the year, but it's been pretty good in terms of grip. Most of the things that we've seen have just been drivers making self-inflicted mistakes like Artie Mercedes does there, running wide out of the carousel.
That was a big mistake, and that solves things. That makes things easy. It's not going to be a battle between teammates if one teammate removes himself from the equation. And that's going to let Luis breathe a little bit here, focus on looking forward instead of looking in his mirrors. Even if your teammate tells you that he's not going to fight with you, it's still a little bit scary to have a big old BMW in the rearview mirror because you don't know if there's going to be a mistake or if he's going to miss a braking point and get into the back of you. Now there's no such worry. There's 8/10 between them. Anything Artie does is not going to matter to Luis. And they can continue to fight for second and third behind Jeff Carollo, who, if he wins, will be getting his first win in the PRL at long last.
It'll be I think, exciting time. That's the great thing about this PRL, right, is the community aspect of it, and the drivers will celebrate alongside Carollo. They'll be celebrating Eric Kulaga, still sitting comfortable in the championship. Well, B&O Racing currently running 5th and 7th. Andrew Trickett wants to make that 5th and 6th up the inside of the BMW. Smart from Kulaga, points leader, says, you know what, let me just tuck back into line. I've got 3 laps to run. Still time to get back up in front with no draft that Trickett will enjoy from Sortino 2 seconds up the road.
And Kulaga, I mentioned he's worrying about Sortino in the Drivers' Championship, but he's worrying about Jeff Carollo, who's second in the championship right now. If Carollo wins, he would get 55 points. If Kulaga finishes back here in 7th, I believe he would be getting, I'm going to check the exact number here, he would be getting 44 points. So as things stand, Jeff Carollo would actually take over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. If Kulaga can make up one more spot here and get back by Trickett, it'll be a tie again. But right now he's at a disadvantage.
Yes, but Jeff Carollo has DNF'd one race, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, means he can't drop that round, which means right now Jeff Carollo has no drop rounds on his plate.
You can drop a DNF. You can't drop a DNF if you had penalty points. Luckily, he didn't have any penalty points when he DNF'd 2 rounds ago.
Okay, so that's going to make things a bit more interesting in the championship picture, but it's also interesting that as we are on board with Kulaga, look up toward the top left. That margin now at 3 seconds. 2 laps to go at the line. I'm not trying to say that, Joey, this is going to close up, but the pressure's being applied.
if it's any hope for Jeff Carollo, Grullon would have to make up 1.5 seconds every single lap if he wanted to bring this down. Grullon did make up 2 more tenths there, but this could just be Jeff kind of backing down the pace a little bit, knowing that he has a big enough gap to win if he does just back up a little bit. He doesn't want to make any mistakes, doesn't want to throw it off the road and throw this away. This may be him just being a little bit conservative to make it to the end.
Yeah, they don't want to be in a dogfight like Douglas Corey, Michael Kulaga, and Sully Saad are in right now. Saad has just tried to get past Douglas Corey in through Canada corner, but the half-hearted attempt compromises run off the exit, and Michael Kulaga takes advantage as he climbs up what is a 6th position for him now up into your top 10. Kevin Santana's gained 12 positions to 12th. Luke Davis, 14 positions, still the biggest mover of them all, and still with some drivers seemingly having opportunities to try and make something happen. Santana under pressure from Steven Martinez.
Well, this is, I don't understand this. This is mathematically impossible. Santana was fighting for 17th about 2 seconds ago, and suddenly he's in 12th after evidently 5 guys crashed in front of him. So that's the old head on Kevin Santana. That's all that experience. He's not a guy who gets into mistakes or gets into incidents himself. He sees the incidents, he intimidates them into happening, and he picks up the pieces. That's why he's up 12 spots. And if anything more happens up front, which is entirely possible, we could have a top 10 against all odds for Mr. Santana.
I wonder if Jason Finch and Peter Moller are thinking, can we go down through turn 5 this time without any contact? Well, it's Peter Moller again late on the brakes, switching back underneath comes the 13 of Finch, but rear power off the Porsche means they squat down up the hill and get the almost equal run in towards turn 6, but somehow finally Jason Finch on the inside will seemingly get on clear with some style points as well on the grass. I've got to say, they're showing some respect, and Jason Finch backs out of it, Peter Moller through, but once again a little bit deep under the brakes.
Yeah, Jason Finch is just kind of all over the place here. He almost had the move made and then clipped the grass, lost all of his momentum, and then he had no run whatsoever out of turn 8. It's just flailing around. Both of these guys have had speed, they've lost speed, they've made mistakes. In the middle of the field here, it's been kind of a battle of who can make the least mistakes, who can clip the grass the least, who can stop racking up those incident points. Right now, it's looking like Backer is going to beat all 3 of them down there.
And here we go into turn number 1 as onto the final lap, white flag in hand. Luis Grullon has to defend slightly from Artie Mercedes. And will the Seabao Racing teammates have to fight here? Is it going to be the BMW in towards turn number 5, looking to set up the run out of turn 3?
You might get one more chance at it. Now that they know that they're not going to catch Carollo, it could be all holds barred here. It could be teammate versus teammate. Artie's got a pretty solid run here down the middle straight for the final time. He's able to use the draft, and he does show his intentions. Peeks the nose to the inside. It's blocked off by his teammate. He's forced to go the long way around, and that BMW just isn't as good on the brakes. He's not able to make it work unless he can switch it back.
But with the switch back, Artie Mercedes, beautifully executed. Luis Grullon's made a few mistakes here and there. Yes, the pace has been back towards the front, but the consistency hasn't maybe been where that Ferrari needs it to be. And the BMW cycles its way on forward to an important podium spot. Remember, Mercedes started down in 6th position in this race as Jeff Carollo heads off through the carousel for the final time. Michael Kulaga, Douglas Corey, Sully Saad still scrambling in the middle sector.
Still dust getting thrown all over the track. It's the last spot in the top 10. It's very important for a lot of these guys. And look at Kevin Santana in 12th. I mentioned he needed to get only 2 more spots to make it in the top 10. Suddenly he sees 3 of them for the taking if things go wrong in the final corner.
And they're only 25 seconds back off the leader, so it really isn't a large margin, all things considered. So that's impressive. That's always great to see. We'll see if anyone's going to be brave into that final corner. Seemingly a little bit too far behind as they head up in towards the kink, but heading up to the final corner and getting ready to take his very first victory in the PRL. Jeff Carollo still has to climb up under the NTT bridge, but he'll see the checkered flag and grab victory in the Precision Racing League GT3 Fix Series, and a punch of the fist. It means a lot to the 97.
You can see that emotion. 1 year ago, Jeff Carollo made his PRL debut here, had his best race ever, finished 2nd in the McLaren GT3 of all cars. Could never quite reach that high over the last year. He'd been quick, he'd fought for top 10s, he was never able to fight for a win like that again until today. He comes back to his favorite track, finally gets that first win. And if it's not on his wall already, he's going to have a Road America cutout after today. It's guaranteed.
It's going to need to be out up there and rather soon. Luis Grullon did get in front of Artie Mercedes in the closing stages, quite interestingly. And I think Jason Finch might have run out of fuel or hit the incident limit on the final lap because he's coming down pit lane, and that will be frustrating to him. What a wild opening race to the doubleheader here at Road America, Joey.
And that is bad news if you get the incident limit on the final lap, because you can't serve the drive-through. You cross the line before you finish the drive-through, so you're sent all the way to the back of the lead lap. That's going to be a shame for poor old Jason Finch. It was an exciting finish between those two CRT cars. There was a mistake out of Mercedes through the final corner. He bobbled a little bit, he choked a little bit, and let his teammate get back by, coming to the line.
I was just saying that Luis Grullon had been the one making the mistakes. Artie Mercedes just had to make one more corner. Unfortunately, that's the one place that he made the mistake after putting the pressure on and drops down to third. Final cars will come to the line as Waldo Walden, after starting in 13th position, does find it rather unlucky, but we can take a look at the race results. 35 minutes of racing in the books here at America's National Parker Speed. Vulture Motorsports North on top with Carollo grabbing, as stated, his very first PRL victory, but Seabow Racing second and third. Grullon and Mercedes will be thrilled with the points they've racked up behind. Tyler Graf qualified well, raced well as well to get across in fourth, while Ross Ortino and Andrew Trickett for the B&O Racing crew, fifth and sixth, will be delighted with their performances. Eric Kulaga, seventh, the points leader, and drops down after qualifying decently. Dale Peterson, Michael Kulaga, and Douglas Corey make up the rest of the top 10, with 11th seeing Sully Saad in the midst of a fight with the likes of Kevin Santana, Steven Martinez, while Jochen Bakker, Michael Fowler, and then Jim Felice all drop back slightly in the closing stages. Peter Moller, Matthew Zanoban, Luke Davis, and Sean Mulholland were all involved in what was a fun fight in the early stages of the race, but then slowly broke up. Christopher Ryan, John Jones, Kevin Berquist, Alex Wright, and Robert Jeffries through the rest of your top 25. It's Ryan Miller, 26th, Malcolm Foster, 27th, with Jason Finch, David Morris, and then Dino Vella making up the rest of the top 30. All still on the lead lap, as was Waldo Walden, while one lap down for Colin McKenzie and Ian Cabana. 5 laps down for Buck Hamilton and Felix Felice and the pair of SGE Esports machines, and Neil Alexander 10 laps down. Couple of machines not seeing the end of today's race. Seems as though we've got one driver standing by and very excited to have a chat. It's his very first race victory. Jeff Carollo's getting ready to chat with Joey Tebben.
I mean, who else could we talk to? Jeff, a little bit over a year after you had that best race of your career in your first race at Road America in this series, how good does it feel to finally get that first PRL win here at Road America?
I'm pretty pumped, not gonna lie. Adrenaline's to the roof right now. Pretty stoked how it turned out, and can't complain one bit.
So what were you thinking about the strategy there? Because obviously it really went your way with Luis getting stuck in traffic, getting held up an absolute ton. Were you seeing that clump of traffic that Luis got stuck in and then just staying out until you could be forced to pit?
I didn't know he got stuck in traffic. I knew he pit early. My whole goal today, he's my main worry this season, in all honesty, speed-wise. I wanted to beat him in his own game, be behind him and save him fuel to get the jump on him. And last week, my biggest goal was to hold him back and be the only person to challenge him. So 2 goals checked off for the season, now to go for the championship.
Yeah, and by my count, with Eric Kulaga finishing in 7th here, I think you're going to be in the championship lead after today. How much pressure does that put on you with 4 races to go, knowing that you're in the fight for the championship?
Honestly, just take every week as it is. I'm not going to take too much pressure off it. It's still going to drive try to forget the championship points during the race until the race is over. And focus and make sure I can hit those top lap times and qualify in the top 3 again and keep the step forward.
And also, you've been so good here. Are we going to see a Road America cutout up there on the up on the wall of tracks soon?
Yeah, so funny story. The people who make these tracks make every other track in the world except for Road America.
What?
Yeah, so I was slightly disappointed. I will be getting one up there as soon as I can get. Next time I go up to the Road America for IMSA or something, I'll buy one.
We're going to start a campaign to get that up there, Jeff. Congrats on that first win. I'm going to let you keep getting excited about this.
I appreciate it.
We'll see you next week.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to thank my team, my girlfriend for dealing with me coming down here and hiding from her for sim racing, and thank, of course, my kids. That's why I got the Sonic the Hedgehog livery for all 3 of those minions. So keep it going.
Jeff Carollo finally getting that first win. You could feel the emotion, Arjuna. and we know a little bit more of the lore behind his car. We know why he doesn't have Road America, but
Well,
we're gonna change that. As a community, we can pull some funds to find another company to make one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know for a fact there are many companies that make track maps out there. That's just an excuse, and it wasn't a very good excuse. We will get that sorted. Road America was kind to Jeff Carollo, but after a trio of tight and twisty tracks, Joey, it's off to another, well, twisty yes, but fast and furious track in Interlagos Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. A week from today, same time, same place. I think these drivers are going to be in for another very interesting race. It looked fun up and down through the field.
Well, you know what I'm going to have to do, Arjuna? I'm going to have to finally live up to my word, and I'm going to have to put a phone call out to RaceSpot's own Lorenzo Bonder and study up on my Brazilian Portuguese, because I got to be good in Brazil. Racing history, PRL history, iRacing history. I'm gonna need to be on the dot there, and I'm gonna have all the Portuguese terminology, and I'm gonna be ready.
Hunsao, I think that's the one corner that Lorenzo can help you with. Everything else, don't worry too much about it. Of course, after that, 3 races in November, Lebanon, Fuji, and Watkins Glen, and of course then it all builds to a bit of a break for the drivers before we get underway again for 2024. Do not forget to head to precisionracingleague.com. But yeah, Lebanon, Joey, it's coming up fast, and we're rather curious as to how that's going to go for these drivers with no experience going into a new track.
Is it too late to change the weeks? Can we switch around Interlagos and Lebanon? Because I think it would be perfect to put Lebanon on Halloween week, because it's scary, it's spooky, it's unknown. And we'll have all the drivers hopped up on sugar and candy that week as well. That should make things even more chaotic. I'm going to lobby for a last-minute switch. I'm
going to leave you to that. You've already got yourself in trouble with Arnaud Genet. Let's see if we can get you in trouble with Jerome Berthiaume as well. And Joey Tebben no longer welcome on PRL broadcast. But he's still welcome as we get ready to go for the second part of the GT3 doubleheader. We stay here at Road America, but instead it's 5 more minutes put onto the clock. Open setups for the drivers to tweak, and maybe the strongest field that the Precision Racing League has ever seen. It's time to go once again for the Precision Racing League GT3 Sprint Series here at the American National Park of Speed. And we've seen such a fun opening race of the evening. Now, let's be real, Joey, the expectations are high for the Sprint Series drivers coming up now.
And I want to get another first-time winner. Who could it be? Could it be Charles-Etienne Boucher taking his first win? Could it be any host of drivers? I hope we can go 2 for 2 with first-time winners tonight. It's an identical calendar. It's going to be just as scary for these guys to go to Lebanon in 2 weeks, to go to Interlagos next week as well, Fuji and Watkins Glen to end the season. They're all lucky. They get to study that fixed race beforehand and see if they can learn anything from it.
You say study, but as we know from watching the Wall of Drivers, often before we go for the fixed series, some of the Sprint Series drivers already getting their final preparations under their belt in those moments before they go racing. Well, as we've been talking about, this is potentially the strongest ever field that we've had in a Precision Racing League series, let alone this Sprint Series in particular. And it is the defending champion Vincent Trepinet that is on the hunt, but hunting down Andrew Caron, who has jumped to the top by just 8 points, yes, 4 points further back to Guillaume Levesque in a second Lease Pure Sims contingent. You've got SimCity Racing and Dalton Zabadil fresh off, of course, his victory just a couple of weeks ago in the hunt. Daniel Ferguson there as well. It's another championship that's wide open, although with Andrew Caron's 2 victories after the DNF in the opening round, it's starting to come good for him at the top.
It is. It's big for Lease Esports. They've got the big 3 up there at the top. Daniel Ferguson, I don't think he's out of the championship fight in 5th, but last week he wasn't really on the pace at Laguna Seca. He's had some bad luck. He has just not quite had the runs he needed to do. So if he can get some better runs going, if he can get the speed back, if he can start fighting for wins again at the end of the season, we could see a 4-way battle between all Lease drivers. And Dalton Zabadil's just going to be there for SimCity, filling the gaps.
Yeah, and we don't see the team names here, but it's basically Lease Pure Sims, Lease Esports, SimCity Racing, and Precision Racing Esports Black. So if we dial up a look at the team championship as well, would you be surprised to hear that those are the same names at the very front of the team championship as well? And look how close it realistically is between the top 3, if not Precision Racing Esports Black as well, with 22 points between Lease Pure Sims, SimCity Racing, and Lease Esports Purple. Remember, you can have 3 drivers registered But only the best 2 each week, Joey, will score points.
And it's absolute shock and horror that the most successful teams are up at the top of the championship right now, but it's an interesting split between Lease and Pure Sims and the regular flavor, Lease Esports Purple. Lease X Pure Sims, that's Corone, Levike, and Ferguson, while Lease Esports Purple is Trepanier, Faro, and one other driver that I should really remember right now that I'm not remembering, Charles-Etienne Boucher. He's the third driver there. And then SimCity Racing in the middle, that's Crisp and Zavadil and the gang trying to get as many points as possible. I'm looking at some drivers all the way down to the bottom, though. The Purple People Eaters, Halloween is coming up. It's Road America, where they've got a ton of experience and a ton of speed. Could this be their ticket to maybe getting 9th at the very best?
I'm just saying, Halloween is coming up, and we're going to be racing on Halloween. Joey, do we have an annual costume night here on the PRL?
Well, from what I've heard, are you going to be missing next week, Arjuna? Are you going to be here for Halloween?
I'm going to be doing costume party at the Atlanta Motorsports Park, so unfortunately I won't be here. But
that darn other PRL.
I was going to say that darn other PRL. We do, I think, need to have a costume party. I'm putting the gauntlet out there for everyone in the PRL. Next week, starting on Sunday, costumes through the week, and the best costume wins a shout-out, because you know what? We're not made of money here at RaceSpot. We don't all have Graham coin yet.
$1,000 out of Arjuna's pocket goes to the best costume.
Let's do that. No, it's $1,000 of Graham coin. Don't forget, after last night's...
It's 1,000 Zimbabwean dollars.
Oh, okay, even better. I like the sound of that then. Inflation has definitely helped me there. Qualifying in its dying stages, and Daniel Ferguson in that Mercedes, after a couple of rounds where he thought that fuel saving would be his best friends, wasn't feeling confident on pace. Road America, a familiar sight for the Californian. 19 thousandths clear of Trepanier, Andrew Corone within 200ths of the front. Dalton Zawidel not far behind. Ryan Pucktel a further 5 thousandths back as expected, close through the field. 1 second splits the top 20.
Well, I'm just really predicting things, Arjuna, because I mentioned that Daniel Ferguson could start his comeback, or he really needed to start his comeback if he wanted to fight for the team's championship or fight for the driver's championship himself as well. And look exactly what he's done. He's feeling Fergalicious at Road America. He's on pole for the first time in a couple of weeks. This could be the start of him really starting to fight his teammates in the driver's championship again. This could be where it starts again. And
you've got to admire the way they've done that split livery as well. It's not just right down the middle. There's a little bit more going on there. And I like the car. Don't like that line through turn number 7. And I don't think Ferguson will have it either. So, much the same as it was with the fixed series. Once the clock hits 0, the drivers can still finish the laps that they're on. And so as that's a fast Mercedes running to the line, there are only a handful of drivers that are actually going to get 2 laps to finish up. Rolling their way up towards the crest, it's Midtown Gary Brown, currently sat in 19th position, that finds himself setting up for his final attempts in the qualifying session.
This is a different type of qualifying session compared to the fixed series, because you do get the chance to adjust the fuel. You can put a qualifying setup on, so it's not the same strategy where you'd want to go out for the full 20 minutes and expend all the fuel. You want to make this one single lap count as much as you can. For Ross Nasser, he's coming up the hill in the BMW. He's lower than he'd like to be, down in 34th. See if he can pick up any time as he crosses the line here for Vaporworks. He's got a few of his teammates up ahead, and it looks like he's not going to pick anything up. It's still going to be 34th for him. He's going to be looking at the field if he can improve on the final lap.
Who is looking like there is going to be no improvement for them? Andrew Corone, Charles-Etienne Boucher. I think outside of that, though, everyone else is still on a lap time that will improve. Alessandro Tokyo in the Raw Esports number 7, down in 28th. That's going to be very much in the danger zone for him in that Porsche, but Josiah Farrow to the line. Daniel Ferguson is in pit lane and watching on to see if anyone can best his a 2:03.354, but the checkered flag about to fly. I think Josiah Farrow's just going to get there in time to get one more lap, which is good because that lap didn't really do much for his opportunity.
No, it didn't, but he's got one of his teammates behind. That's Simon Theriault, who's a little bit too far back to get any real draft, but if he can get a little bit closer, he may get some help from his teammate. It may just be Ferrari and Ferrari all for themselves, though. David Mendonça, he's still in a Ferrari, and I noticed this last week. We haven't talked much about it, but he has the confidence to put his initials on the side of his car. He's embossed that car with his own logo.
Did you just call that a Ferrari?
Did I?
I think you did. It's okay. Someone, I think it was Reese who called a Ferrari, rather a Lamborghini a Ferrari during the iRacing Petit Le Mans. So there would be.
No, I think that was me too.
Oh, was that? Oh my goodness, you did that too.
It's a Halloween costume. It's a Ferrari in a costume.
Nice. Not much of an improvement there from their Mercedes, but Gary Brown, no improvement for him either. These are, I think, slightly different conditions that the drivers are facing in these closing sessions, closing stages of the session. And indeed, no one yet has improved with the exception of Martin Crisp, and up to third.
Big lap for the SimCity Racing driver. He's been exceptional in qualifying this season. P3 is going to be some good stuff for him. His teammate Dalton Zavadil and Ryan Pucktel, for that matter, the third SimCity Racing driver. All of them in the top 7. It's going to be good for them in the Teams Championship. Here's Faraz Nasser. I mentioned he needed one more lap to improve, and he does, 0.5 of a second. That puts him up in the top 30.
Important improvement. Can Trepanier find 19 thousandths? Here we go. We've been waiting for a challenge to the top. It's a 2:03.354 to beat, and no improvement. Trepanier, well, still where he'll want to be on the outside of the front row. Can anyone else find some time? Andrew Caron down to pit lane, practicing what is a tricky pit entry. It's Josiah Farrow, the last car that we think saw the checkered flag, or saw the green flag before the checkered flag, going to be able to improve in that Ferrari 296.
Let's see what he can do. His teammates are up there in the top 10. Can Josiah join him? 203. It is a 203.7. He picks up a couple thousandths, and it is enough. It's just enough to jump up into 9th. That's how close the margins are. He picked up 30 thousandths, and he got 4 spots for it.
And so instantly, the qualifying session comes to a close. That is another remarkably close one up toward the top through the field. It means Daniel Ferguson, for the first time this season, will get ready. Second time this season, excuse me, get ready to lead us to the green. But I think it's the first time in a couple of weeks that he'll feel confident in potentially breaking away at the front rather than thinking about the fuel mileage equation behind. Let's run you down through the starting grid, where it's a Leeson Pure Sims contingent at the front, with Ferguson, Caron, and Levesque all inside of the front 3 rows. Trepanier will be alongside Ferguson, though, on the very front row. Martin Crisp alongside Caron on row number 2, and Dalton Zavadil makes 2 of the SimCity Racing cars inside of those front 6 starting spots. Ryan Pucktel just behind as well will join forces for SimCity Racing, with Charles-Etienne Boucher and Josiah Farrow looking to back up their teammates up towards the front. Juan Malagon and Nane Tavares, the first of the Seabao Racing contingent, in 10th and 11th, with Jeremy Gonzalez, the first Precision Racing esports car, back in 12th. It's 13th for Boris Ovando, 14th for Dominic Olivier, Fernando Yaquez and Simon Tirio, 15th and 16th positions. It's Michael Terrafino and Kevin Norris sharing row number 9. Gary Brown and Kwok Nin separated by mere thousandths, 19th and 20th, while Ted Lowendick, the first car, 1 second off of the pole position in 21st, is alongside the fellow purple machine of Ethan Bass in 22nd. Diego Ere, Keith Maines, 23rd and 24th, with 25th seeing Kevin Simpson's McLaren alongside First Nasser in the 116. Patrick Bachelard, David Mendoza, Alessandro Tokyo, and Miguel Angel Fonseca make up the rest of the top 30, with Rapid Ray Dominguez down in 31st, Mark Anthony Hinkson in 32nd, Miles Brown, Marc-Andre Deschardin, and Nick McLaughlin, Tyler Campbell through the top 36. 2 more cars to speak of. It's Jay Steffi, it's Lance Loomis that roll at the back of the 38-car field for a 40-minute race here at Road America. Plenty of webcams to look through and some interesting things to try and pick apart as well. At the top, you've got Nick McLaughlin, the defending champ Vincent Trepanier, and Kwok Nin in his virtual reality. Kevin Norris is trying to send us a message. I can't quite pick that one apart. I can tell you.
Cards for everyone.
Cards for everyone. I can tell you that Miguel Angel Fonseca is very much trying to make a point here that he likes Jerez more than Road America, and he's hoping for a top 20. I think, correct me if I'm wrong here as well, Joey, we're just being told by Ted Lowendick that he just wants cheese.
He does want cheese, but evidently he didn't want cheese enough to put real cheese behind him. He's really been slacking. He's been putting he's been putting stock images behind him instead of real food. It's guys like Ted. He's the reason that AI is going to take all of our jobs. Ted, you're putting cheesemongers out of work, putting fake cheese behind you.
I don't feel bad about it.
You are cheesist.
Yes.
You're really offensive to the cheese community here. I see the eye still looking clean behind you, though. I know you had to put an eye patch on the Xfinity car because somebody tried to poke it out. Is it still blinking good today?
We're good in the GT3. Tomorrow night we will unveil the new updates to the eye. I really do feel bad for the people for tomorrow because whoever's going to be behind me at Martinsville for 150 some laps is really going to have to stare at that the whole time. So, sorry, not sorry.
So I mentioned at Martinsville, my strategy, if I start anywhere below third, is I'm full throttling turn one. I'm wrecking everybody in front of me. Are you going to do that here at Road America? No brakes in turn one? Darn.
I don't know if that's a good idea. I'll let Nick decide on that.
You've got another purple car to the inside of you, by the way. You got the Bassmaster there. Are you feeling like an imposter over there?
You know, I got a little bit of a beef with the Bassmaster tonight. He kind of held me up in qualifying at one point, just not paying attention there. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you get back to some of that drama. I'll drop you with your teammate again. I expect we're going to Brazil next week. I want some real Brazilian food, so I'll let you make some Brazilian steakhouse stuff or something.
All right, that sounds great. I need to do some research then.
Theodore Loendicitis, starting from about 34th or something, but we're going to get him back on the right track next week.
We will hopefully not get to talk to Ted or his teammate Nick before the end of the race, but they are always sitting by and ready for us to distract them. Again, 5 more minutes added to this race, expected to be about 20 laps or so, and if we take a look at the weather conditions, just about similar for them as they work their way around the kink. No one really weaving just yet at the very front of the field. But with so many quote-unquote team-affiliated cars, Joey, up towards the front, should we expect ducking and diving in the opening laps?
There's going to be some ducking. There's going to be a little bit of diving. There's going to be a little bit of argument because it's SimCity Racing versus Lease. They're both fighting for the team's championship. If Martin Crisp gets a chance to get by Vincent Trepanier, if Dalton Zavidal gets a chance to get by Charles-Etienne Boucher, we're going to see all sorts of motions because it's easy to pass to the best of times at Road America. Rather, it's still difficult in the dirty air to get a move done. So when you get the opportunity, you got to take advantage of it. You can't just wait up.
Who do you think comes out on top here? Because throw your magic 8-ball into the air and shake it, and who's it predicting?
It's Ferguson time.
It's Fergie time.
It is Fergie time.
Well, Andrew Carone, the points leader, will be hoping that things will go his way, but Daniel Ferguson, Vincent Trepanier on that front row, and now waiting for the pace car to peel off and away, and not going to be such an early jump as we saw slightly earlier from Luis Grion. It's up under the NTT bridge, though, where Ferguson's Mercedes gets the green flag out at Road America. The second half of the PRL GT3 sprint campaign is underway, and instantly look at Vincent Trepanier under pressure. Not going to be 3 wide into turn number 1, surely. Martin Crisp backs out of it, but around the outside, Andrew Carone will take advantage of cold tires on the Porsche and slide his way on forward slightly with a nose in front to second. Ferguson's clear, though, as down through turn number 3, we run onto the back straight.
Martin Crisp just very smart into turn 1, not to send it 3 wide, but not very aggressive, and that's lost him a couple of spots. Things are going to get very aggressive again into turn 5, though. I mentioned it was a pinch point in the fixed race. We only saw 1 driver get turned around. We've got more cars. We've got more speed coming in this time. There's a dive from Zavidil, and everybody is going to try and get it slowed down without making any contact.
And somehow, I think, we've just about managed to get through there. Just about at the back, I think we've gotten through 38 machines out of turn 5 safely, rising up through turn 6 now. Already almost 0.8 of a second at the front for the Mercedes of Ferguson. Carone's trying to keep him honest. Be interesting to see how the Porsches get along. Only 2 Ferraris, currently riding up inside of the top 10. Out through the carousel, first time of asking. We had, almost 10 seconds split the top 20 cars inside of the first couple of laps. Similar sort of situation playing out here. Take a look at that track map, Joey, as we wind towards Canada Corner. Drivers at the back starting to lose time to the leaders.
Oh, that's Dalton Zavidil. That's Mr. Z with a hellacious impact. Nobody got into him yet, but now everybody's trying to slot through. There's smoke all over the place. Somehow, it took all the way to the end of the train. I think I saw Torquio get involved there. They almost all made it through. Torquio wasn't quite so lucky, though.
We'll have to see what our replay machines picked up out of that one, but not ideal for anybody. Looks like Diego Ere also mixed up in that one. Dalton Zabadil, Keith Maines, and Alessandro Torchio, but it is going to be a bit of a breakaway at the very front, where Daniel Ferguson, Andrew Caron, Vincent Trepanier, Guillaume Levesque, Charles-Etienne Boucher have slowly built up a 5-car train that leads at the end of lap number 1.
Kind of insane how well this has gone for him. Martin Crisp lost about 4 spots in the start. Dalton Zabadil's crashed out already. Ryan Pucktel's still around, but that's SimCity Racing 6th and 7th behind 2 separate Lease Esports squads. So if anything could have gone better, it didn't happen. Everything was absolutely perfect for this team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across 2 teams. Now they got to make it stick for 37 more minutes.
In towards the end of the back straightaway. Constantinoing up they will go. There's the second of the SimCity Racing cars with the yellow highlights denoting the 21 of Pucktel. Of course, Mr. Z, Dalton Zabadil, already done for this race. Let's spool it back in time, though. And I'm going to guess it's going to be grass on the outside, Joey. That's the undoing of Mr. Z. Oh, that's a big hit, though.
That's very odd, though, because it looked like he was entirely on the asphalt. He didn't clip the grass at all, but he may have gotten on the brakes at a wrong moment and looped it around. You see, I think that's Keith Maines in the Ferrari who was unlucky as bystander there. Torchio got involved as well. Ere got involved. That was just a weird spin from Zabadil. He didn't clip the grass at all, and it didn't even look like he was getting loose through the kink. We'll take a look at it again here. He's behind Charles-Etienne Boucher in the Mercedes. It all looks fine. Through the kink.
Oh, it's the weight transfer.
And then the oversteer comes.
It's just
very, very late.
It's the pendulum that sometimes you get in the Porsche. And how long does it take before he actually gets clipped here? Oh,
well, I'm surprised he didn't throttle up and get back off the side of the track. But I think he didn't want to take anybody out who may have gone there to avoid him. Unfortunately, half the train makes it through, and then the other half of the train, there's only so much you can do when there's a car spun, basically blocking the entire track. And then Ere comes in, Torchio comes in. Poor old Keith Maines making his season debut tonight after the late signups went up, and he's been taken out after half a lap.
You know what it is? It's that Arca brakes. Those dang Arca brakes, unfortunately. I say that jokingly. It's just smoke, hard to really figure out what's going on. This is just awkward off the corner, and Gary Brown and Ethan Bass get entangled with one another.
That's not ideal. The Bassmaster just kind of flailing around. It was a dive from Gary in the first place and a mistake from Kwok Nin that kind of made them 3 wide in the first place. And 3 wide very rarely works. Not everybody really giving each other the room they needed, and a little bit of an intersection. It's going to be 2 very frustrated drivers back there, and Kwok Nin's going to be saying, I made the mistake, but I kind of came out the best out of that.
On board with Charles-Etienne Boucher at the very back of this train, and as may be expected, Martin Crisp has not really held on to what has now become the 5-car train at the front. Daniel Ferguson looks calm in the race lead, and you could hear there the audible lift off the throttle, the saving of fuel, strategy games going and being played already. It's always a disadvantage to be up towards the very front, but Ferguson clearly working on a strategy and just trying to be smooth right now in that Mercedes.
But I'm seething with anger right now, Arjuna, because Ferguson turned his camera on for us, Trepanier turned his camera on for us, but Caron didn't.
Hey!
Hi, Daniel. How you doing? But Guillaume Levesque, he always turns his camera on. He didn't do it. Charles-Etienne Boucher, Boucle d'Or. We're not seeing the Boucle d'Or today.
Goldilocks unfortunately decided that his hair was too golden for us today. Ferguson leads, like you mentioned, Trepanier as well, also giving us the perspective, and the bus driver hopefully not feeling a Porsche driving like a bus. Although I will say that if, we always say that drivers build setups to their own personal preference. Does Vincent Trepanier like a car that drives like a bus?
I don't know if he likes his setups to be, well, I won't say the adjective I was thinking of there. That would be the adaptation of bus, but I don't know. I don't know when his bus shift starts, by the way, because he sent me a Discord message this morning at 9:30 a.m. So he might have he must have the afternoon shift or the early morning shift. I don't know.
Well, let's continue our cycle through of the cameras very quickly, because you were right. It does read cards for everybody. But what sort of cards is Caven Norris sending? Christmas cards? Surely not, because he's had a rough 2023. There's been plenty of incidents for him.
We talked last week about how if every driver who got into an incident with Caven Norris wouldn't get a Christmas card, he wouldn't be sending any cards at all. But he's He's turned over a new leaf. Everybody gets a card. He's a new man.
So it was literally a throwback to the joke we made last week.
It isn't. He's got Christmas decorations behind him.
Look at that. The level of effort. You love to see it.
The one on the left looks more like a scarecrow. That's somewhat suspicious. And there's our guy back in VR, and he's in all black. He's in stealth mode today.
Look at his hair. Looking fantastic, I must say, in virtual reality. My hair always looks awful after putting the commentator headset on. If I had a way to make my hair look like that, please, Kwoknin, teach me your ways. After being involved in that mad scramble down in turn 5, though, Kwoknin looking still quite steady. Directly behind the Purple People Eaters, Ted Lowendix, up in 18th spot now.
They're two guys who tend to find each other on track. I feel like Kwok and Ted, they're best of buddies. There is Ted in the cheese-verse, the fake cheese-verse, the metaverse, I may say. He's lying to us with that fake cheese. He's so lonely right now. His teammate Nick McLaughlin is about 10 spots back right now, and Ted's just trying to survive, probably amusing himself in his head. He's probably thinking about the Blue Jackets now that the hockey season started. And we'll see if he survives 32 more minutes.
Are you a hockey fan, Joey?
I'm not, but I have to hear about Columbus, okay. And because I'm teammates with Ted and a Canadian, so I hear about hockey every Wednesday.
Yeah, sounds like you're going to have fun tomorrow at Martinsville. How many cautions are you expecting?
Yes.
What's the maximum number you can fit into that time? Yes.
A lot.
Yeah, that's
Big.
Probably the answer to the question.
Big many.
Big many. Boucle d'Or, Charles-Etienne Boucher in danger of being dropped with the draft. 1.5 is that magic number. It was exactly 1.5 at the line for his 924. So currently as it runs right now, it's Lease Pure Sims, Lease Pure Sims, Lease Esports, Lease Pure Sims, and then Lease Esports, the top 5. Did I get that one right?
Maybe, but that's the least of your concerns.
Oh, it's just changed as well.
Yep. Now it's a 1-2-3. How about that for synergy? Ferguson, Carone, and Mini Guy himself, Guillaume Levique. 1-2-3 for Lease and Pure Sims.
That does make it a little bit easier, all with their split liveried machines heading up under the Corvette bridge. Of course, now with slightly different manufacturer for Vincent Trepanier, going to be interesting to see how his car handles over the course of the fuel run. And like we said, it's not really a fuel window in these races, given how much time you spend at full throttle at this track. Instead, it's a more of a fuel margin that you better hope that you hit. It'll be interesting to see how close these drivers elect to play it.
Yeah, I think Daniel Ferguson's probably going to be doing the most fuel saving up front here because he can control the pace right now. He's got two teammates behind him who probably aren't going to get too aggressive. So it's an interesting game. It's usually hard to save fuel when you're in the lead of the race, but Ferguson's going to be in the best position of anybody. He gets a huge slide out of the kink, lucky to save that. He is feeling the pressure, but I think he's also just controlling the pace right now. That's why everybody's so close to him. You
know what they say, though, and it's true both in the oval and roadsides of racing, Joey. Loose is fast.
It is until you meet Road America concrete.
Well,
that's especially hard concrete here.
It is very hard, but it's also about the tires, right? It's about how much can you slide the car around without overheating the tire. That's where the best drivers get separated from the good, and that's why I am not even good. That's an understatement. Trepanier, Ferguson, as ever in the world of esports, looking very calm, looking quite cool. Is Ferguson going to give us another wave? We're about to find out.
The thing I don't like about this team is that it's Lease X Pure Sims. This happens a lot in sim racing. When two teams combine their efforts, do you say Lease X Pure Sims? Do you say Lease and Pure Sims? Do you say Lease Pure Sims? It's so ambiguous. I never know what to say.
Unless I get told otherwise by a brand's manager, I don't. No wave. Come on, Daniel Ferguson. He shook the head there. He's not acquiescing to our demands.
How about Lease multiplied by Pure Sims?
I like that one. Lease squared Pure Sims.
Lease times Pure Sims.
Yeah, we got to find the most obnoxious way to say the team name. Although, Joey, I know you've done a fair few endurance races here on RaceSpot with us. What's the longest team name that you've ever seen?
I don't think this was a race I was on, but it was a RaceSpot broadcast I looked at, and the team name was so long that it was pixels. It was not readable.
Was that the iRacing Road America 500 that you're thinking of?
I don't know, but if you read out a very long team name, I'm going to believe it.
Okay, I will go and look at the iRacing Road America 500, but that had a very long team name. Yeah, some of the drivers do like to just try and break our graphics. They make an active effort. What they're doing right now, though, you are right, is they're running a pace that Daniel Ferguson is setting. It's not letting them break away from Chris. And He's bringing with him Pucktel, Josiah Farrow, who's got plenty of chat support in the YouTube chat, by the way. Juan Malagon, Nani Tavares. You look at that track map again, Joey. It's not that spread apart after about 13 minutes of racing.
No, it's like that old Roaches song. Once you step on, you might never get off of that Ferguson train, because he's holding everybody up. Everybody's in a train, and the happiest driver in the world is going to be Daniel Ferguson, because he's controlling the pace of the whole field. There's a great boost of confidence that you're leading the field, you're dominating, you're saving the most fuel of anybody, and also you're putting the pressure on all your competitors by bringing about 20 drivers into the fight, and the likes of Martin Crisp, who are just in the middle of the pack. Suddenly they've got about 10 more drivers behind him because he's getting held up with the train ahead of him.
The team name I was thinking of, by the way, was, why is there an arbitrary character limit on iRacing team name, sorry, to be specific?
That's not even that long.
Well, I'll send you the picture of what it looked like on the timing graphics, then you agree it did look quite long.
What is the character limit?
That's a good question, but that was about at the character limit from what I remember, because you couldn't really make you couldn't read it on the tower, that's for sure. Lease X Pure Sims is just about pushing that limit of legibility. Fortunately, we don't have to throw it up on that left-hand side of your screen. It's not a team race. I have tried to break the RaceSpot timing graphics in my day as well, along with Lewis McGlade and Cam Roger and Dan Kellen, the greatest team to have ever existed, the Aurora Artifact Calamity FTF powered by RaceSpot team.
Well, I'm here to announce anti-disestablishmentarianism, Floxenos, and Hillipilification racing.
You're getting the idea here. Next time, Joey, you're doing an endurance race and it's going to be on RaceSpotTV. Break the timing graphics. It's always entertaining to see what people can come up with. They're keeping us entertained, though, at the back with actual wheel-to-wheel action as Nick McLaughlin passed by Mark Anthony Hinkson.
Yeah, this is a hot old battle here. Hinkson and McLaughlin and a few others behind. Desjardins, Lance Loomis. Nick's looking happy. He's looking very communicative. We saw Ted. He was fully focused. He was just in his own world. He was in the Fediverse, as somebody in the chat said. But Nick is all chatting things up, probably because he's in a far more active situation right now. He's got Lance Loomis trying to kiss him in the eye.
And they aren't too far off of Miguel Angel Fonseca as well, whose heart rate apparently is only at 102 beats per minute. He said he wanted a P20. Fonseca's in 27th right now. Still has some work to do as through Canada Corner they go to complete what will be the 7th lap of their race. What's your heart rate right now, Joey, roughly? Do you know?
I mean...
Do you have an Apple Watch?
I don't have an Apple Watch.
Okay.
I actually have the app. I have an app where you put your finger over the light and it counts your heart rate. I don't know how accurate that is, but a normal resting heart rate, I know this is... I mean, for a healthy person, or for a very active person, it can be very low, but basically between 80 and 120, you're fine. If it's higher than that, you may start to worry if it's like that for a couple extra hours. So there's your medical corner for the week.
Joey's Medical Corner, a show within a show.
Yes.
The thing is, when you often look at some of the data that real drivers often send, Scott McLaughlin has been posting a lot of his Whoop data along with a handful of other open-wheel drivers. We're talking heart rates between, 160, sometimes 190 beats per minute, and sustained heart rate. So I've got to say, 98, 100, that's where Fonseca's heart rate's resting right now. That's where you want to be, controlling your emotion through the course of the race.
Yeah, sim racing can be sweaty. It can be difficult, but it's not high performance sports. You're not like Scott McLaughlin sweating in a V8 or in a supercar or in an Indy car or anything like that, throwing a car around. So it's good to be in the normal heart rate. It's good to have that monitor too. We love the data. We want biometric data from everybody. I'm gonna get every driver in the field to send us their fingerprints and send us their heartbeat data,
their social security number.
Yep, we're gonna get the vitamin levels. We're gonna track everything.
And we're gonna make a reality TV show out of the. We've got to come up with more acronyms, by the way, that involve the PRL, so that it's totally not confusing when I'm away next week working on the PRL, Joey, but I'm not here working on the PRL.
We're going to analyze all of we're going to get all the medical data. We'll look at kidneys, and we'll be like, oh, Guillaume Levique, he hasn't been taking care of his kidneys this week. We got all the data.
Vitamin D, that's what he'll need to get.
Not enough of that.
Or whatever.
Not drinking enough milk.
Whatever you need for the kidneys. Now, we are seeing some pit stops. Dominic Olivier has followed in Caven Norris, Ethan Bass, Mark Anthony Hinkson, who all pitted the last time around. No one at the front, though, as we near the halfway mark of this race, as 4 cars still at the front. We've once again re-established a bit of a buffer to Charles-Etienne Boucher, to Martin Crisp, and to Ryan Pucktel, as the rest of those behind very much locked in a fight now for 6th on back.
It's kind of a second train, actually. I mentioned Daniel Ferguson holding up a big train. It's separated out a little bit more. Crisp hasn't really been able to catch up to the end of the lead train, so he's his own little car. He's on his own schedule, and he's got, again, very hungry Ferraris behind him, a very hungry Porsche with his teammate Ryan Pucktel, and 2 of the CRT drivers as well doing a great job. Juan Malagon in the best number in the world, the 06, Nene Tavares in the 911 behind. Two very fast drivers trying to get good points for CRT in this series as well.
Yeah, but you know what? Nane Tavares loses out because he's running the number 911 on not a Porsche, which means ultimately that is minus 5 horsepower right there. If the RaceSpot logos on the car add 5 horsepower for each one that you put, mix and matching numbers like that surely is not good for racing karma. The racing gods might not look kindly on that one. Would you peel off to the pit lane if you're these drivers, Joey? Because, again, look at that track map. There are pockets of clean air starting to build behind them, but right now, this is a bit of a hornet's nest.
Well, there's been some Mavericks, there's been some racing prodigies at the back who have said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get out of this train. I'm going to back out. Dominic Olivier, Caven Norris, Ethan Bass, they've all said, I'm going to find some clean track. I'm going to get out of this hornet's nest, and I'm going to see if that pays off for me, because we're almost past halfway in the race. Only one more lap until we are. You can make it to the end if you pit from here, so if you're maybe Jeremy Gonsalves fifth in line behind Martin Crisp, you might be thinking strategically right now, thinking if you can find a gap, you might be able to make up some spots.
So no one at the front elects to come down to the lane just yet, as it does seem like it's getting a bit darker here at Road America. 21 minutes to go means should still, knock on wood, have I think 10 laps to go after the one that we will finish up this time around. That will all just depend on how long the leaders end up spending down in the box and stationary itself. Ray Dominguez, Rapid Ray, in a fight, and well, that passed as, well, you said it was bold to put your initials on the side of the car, but nice move to 22nd for the 55.
It's good stuff. DM. These are kind of the cars you don't want to have all battling each other. You got David Mendonça in the Mercedes, Rapid Ray Dominguez in the BMW, and a McLaren ahead of both of them. That's Kevin Simpson. It's the non-popular car lot back here. It's good to see at least somebody is holding up the majority of the manufacturers, so we get a little bit more diversity.
I was explaining to a friend of mine over the weekend that McLaren is papaya McLaren. You got to be specific, right? It's not orange, it's papaya. It is good to still see a McLaren, mostly just because the flame out the back. But the Ford has been, let's be honest, given up on for the most part now, with the Bassmaster switching away from it along with a handful of others. There are still a few lone holdouts, but the McLaren's going to be a dying breed soon as well, Joey. Unfortunately, its fire-breathing days surely are numbered.
Well, get us a new McLaren, replace it, get us a new one with the 720S, and we can talk about another McLaren. If we get the Lexus as well, I'll be happy with that. We can get even more diversity. We can up this to 11 GT3 cars eventually.
I mean, that would be a lot. And you're just making the work of league organizers around the world even more difficult, and even more difficult for BOP organizers around the world as well. Oh, half this race is officially in the books, by the way, and no one from that top 4 has elected to peel down onto the lane. So Daniel Ferguson continues to run them to his tempo, to his fuel number. Martin Crisp, Ryan Pucktel trundle down pit lane for their one and only trip of the race.
It's a SimCity Racing party down here on pit lane. By the way, speaking of SimCity Racing, their teammate Dalton Zavadil, after 15 minutes and 44 seconds of repairs, he's actually back out on track. He's going to finish this race, even if it means he's going to be 35th, because he's going to try and maximize every point he can get. If he does need to take another drop week, he wants to make sure that this week is the least bad it can be, whether that's 35th or 34th or something like that. He's still going to fight, and his teammates are actually going to end up in totally clean air right behind Gary Brown. They're going to have 20 seconds of clean air.
It's a nice tidy stop for them then, as the drivers they're fighting down through turn 5 compress themselves up the hill. Josiah Farrer now is the lead driver here in the Lease Esports Ferrari. Nani Tavares, Jeremy Gonzalez, and Fernando Yaquez, Juan Malagon making up the rest of the top 10 as they run in through the hurry downs. Just see that there's definitely some more intensity and urgency now from Farrer. The body language of that car just being chucked around a little bit more load being put on all 4 of the contact patches. And that's what Charles-Etienne Bouclador has been doing slowly but quietly in that 5th position and riding on board with the 924. Joey just inside of the drafting range now as we head off into that pit stop cycle.
He's in a really inconvenient spot, though, because he has been over a second behind these guys all race long. He has not been able to save fuel like the rest of his teammates have been. He's had to push all out to stick with these guys. So he's kind of in the worst position of anybody. I worry for him that 5th is going to be the absolute limit of his race here. Is anybody going to peel off this time? No, they're not. I think Boucher was thinking about it, but it's not going to happen for him. He's going to stay in line, still a tantalizing second behind Trepanier. I think these guys have got the top 5 locked up, but it's going to be the top 4 that are going to shuffle around, if anything.
So Gonzalez, Yaquez, and Malagon are the 3 that pit then from inside of the top 10. Shorter pit stops potentially for those still circulating and running. It is 3 teammates. I mean, let's be real here. Lease and Pure Sims run 1, 2, and 3 right now as they buckle themselves over the curb on exit of turn number 3. How much are they going to fight? I'm not sure. Guillaume Levette got a much better run onto the back straightaway under the Sargento Bridge than Andrew Carone did. But into the braking zone, doesn't go for it, just pushes Carone a little bit closer to his teammate.
Yes, this may be things starting to break up a little bit because Ferguson's been backing off for so long. Are we finally starting to see his real pace with him pulling away from his teammate? I think that may be what's happening here. Pit stops are coming up very soon. There's a big save from Jeremy Gonzalez through turn 1. He's got his Precision Racing Esports teammate behind him now, but that was a very scary moment, and I don't know how he saved that. He was half sideways coming through turn 1.
And on cold tires, he's now being, well, thought he would have had a bit of margin to Dominic Olivier, his teammate Fernando Yaquez and Martin Crisp, but no, instead into a fight. Olivier, though, is going to force the Seabell Racing Ferrari the long way around at turn 5, opens the door for Crisp in that SimCity Racing black and white machine to look up the inside, and Fernando Yaquez and Crisp will almost lean on one another under the bridge at turn 6, with now Juan Malagon lurking and trying to maybe find a way through as well. Seemingly settled, but not just yet. Crisp around the outside, and with some contact, gets on through, but just.
Seeing some incredible Ferrari saves here, but this has gone horrifically wrong for SimCity Racing. They were comfortably in the head of the second train in 6th and 7th, and now they've let Gonzalez get by, they've let Olivier get by, Fernando Jaquez is still fighting to get by, and Juan Malagon is ahead of Ryan Pucktel as well. It was such a promising start to this race with Crisp up in 3rd, and it's all started to fall apart a little bit. They're lucky it hasn't ended worse with 2 big saves in 1 lap.
Well, I think we're just seeing that fuel is a commodity being viewed differently by different drivers. Ferguson definitely pushing a little bit more now that he's not saving as much, but these drivers have gone to the brink of 14-odd minutes to go now as they continue to circulate. Miles Brown will come on in from 13th position, but so many drivers going long while so many went short. A bit of a dichotomy, Joey, and I'm not sure it's going to play out if they're going to be fighting that hard further behind.
Well, it's kind of a mathematical situation. If some drivers come in, that tells you that you can go long at the end of the race. If you go long at the start of the race, you can be short at the end. But Daniel Ferguson, I think, has gone off the road, and Andrew Carone has gotten through.
That's a mistake, and an unfortunate mistake. Is that just the nature of pushing after running a rhythm? Let's find out. Down the hill into turn number 5.
That's a big mistake. It's the tightest braking zone on the track, but I think he actually got a little bit of oversteer coming through the corner, has to throw it off the road, goes for a little bit of rally cross over the jump as well. But that's a shocking mistake from Daniel Ferguson. He was comfortably in the lead, but he gets it slowed down. It's perfectly fine, but on turn in, he gets a little bit of oversteer and has to save it, just carrying a little bit too much speed through the corners. Did not expect that from a guy who's been absolutely perfect all race long.
All it takes is one mistake. I mean, look at Luis Grullon, made a handful of mistakes of his own. Now, Ferguson trapped behind Trepanier. And the worst part about all of this is Ferguson being the one that ran at the front would likely be the one that you'd assume has used the most fuel over the course of this race so far. Therefore, maybe needs the most time stationary in the pit box. That one mistake has not just lost him track position, but maybe eliminate any chance of a victory. Here we go, though. I think it's going to be all but one into the pit lane, and indeed, Guillaume Levesque has done enough to stay out one additional lap. But here comes the rest for their one and only pit stop.
I'm surprised that Guillaume's able to go around again, but Mini Guy, maybe he's got a mini fuel tank in there, or a mini extra fuel tank that's got a little bit of extra fuel. I think Daniel Ferguson has actually been able to save a lot of fuel in the lead of the race when he was controlling the pace, but now this is going to be the real test. How much fuel was he able to save compared to his teammates, specifically Caron and Trepanier, who were in that train? They're all going to find their boxes. It's a long run here at Road America. Get it slowed down. You don't want to have to back up. Everybody did get it slowed down, though.
But they're going up on the jacks, which means they're taking tires. Now, which tire are they taking?
Where'd Ferguson go?
Ferguson, I think, may have sped on entry, given that he's bailed from the race. But Caron, with a very short 9.9 second stop, is going to leave ahead of them all and off into turn number 1 with almost a 4-second advantage over Vincent Trepanier.
That is tragic for Daniel Ferguson, the lead of the race, and then in one lap's time he loses the lead and then decides to end his race altogether after speeding on pit entry. What a shame for Daniel Ferguson, his best race of the season, but we'll see him back with maybe some confidence next week after getting back to the top of the field here. Hopefully we'll see him back in fighting shape at Interlagos. But this is going to be interesting. Trepanier, Caron, and Levesque, who still hasn't pit yet. Is he going to slot in between the two of them? Or, as Guillaume Levesque was third in line, has he been able to save more fuel than anybody? And maybe he'll be the one who's able to jump Caron into the lead.
Let's see if we can ride on board with Daniel Ferguson and just see the entry into the pit lane. So remember, we were saying earlier how late the cones are. And it doesn't.
Looks fine.
It looks fine, doesn't it?
It looks fine, but let's see it again, because I think he got it slowed down before the cones. I don't know if that was just a rage quit because he was in fourth, because he didn't have the lead anymore, but that is bizarre, and I can't imagine he would do that if he didn't have a race-ending penalty. But here comes his teammate.
See if we can get word as Guillaume Levesque indeed does make his way on into the lane. Nani Tavares, the other driver, able to go 14 full laps of racing. But where are the rest of the teammates? Pounding around the lap, that's the question. Andrew Caron, a very short pit stop already, rising up to Bill Mitchell Bend. It's 9.9 seconds, the mark that Levesque will be watching for.
This is what it all comes down to. Guillaume Levesque hasn't actually won this season, which is somewhat shocking. His last season in the PRL, he won 8 out of 10 races en route to a championship. But this could be a good step forward and bring his fight for the championship back in here. He sees his teammate Andrew Caron, though, coming up over the top of the hill. Guillaume's going to beat him out of the pits, but Caron's going to have the run into turn 1.
It's a 9.5 second stop. It was marginally shorter, but it is going to be enough to see Caron take the point. It is going, though, to be between these two in their Mercedes. Trepanier 3.5 back. With 10 minutes to go, Joey, we're into the final 5 laps of this.
And now it's just going to be an all-out duel. 5 laps between these two drivers. No fuel saving, no team orders. It's an all-out battle, Mercedes versus Mercedes. And remember, both of these guys are fighting for the Drivers' Championship against each other. They may be teammates in the Team's Championship. They're not teammates in the Drivers' Championship. Guillaume Levesque wants to beat his teammate and take his first win of the season.
And so, we'll keep an eye up towards the front, but we cannot forget that there are fights going up and down through the field as well. This is the fight for 5th on back. You have Trepanier, Etienne Boucher in relative no man's land for the time being, but then Nani Tavares, Boris Ovando, Jeremy Gonzalez, Dominic Olivier, Josiah Farrow, Martin Chris, Fernando Yaquez, Simon Terrio, Juan Malagon, Ryan Puctel, and Michael Terrafino. Breathe. That's 10 cars, Joey, all lined up with 10 minutes still to go.
I was going to say, was that the... Do we have the RaceSpot soundboard going there and you just played yourself reading the grid again?
It's a long one, isn't it? And because they're all just trapped on top of one another, you have to assume that if there are mistakes, it's going to cause a bit of chaos amongst the pack.
It's going to cause a derailing of the train, potentially. It still looks so... It's so dicey through the kink. Even in these Ferraris, they're all still getting a little bit of oversteer. They're all sliding around just a little bit. I don't think we've seen our last mistake from any of these guys. I don't think we've seen our last incident. And it's those final couple of laps when everybody's pushing as hard as humanly possible. Can everybody keep it on the track? Can everybody push a little bit more? Maybe Martin Crisp. Can he take advantage? He's not a guy who makes a lot of mistakes. He's going to be hoping so because he's down 7 spots from where he started.
The mistake has been on strategy, I think, is kind of the way that we've been talking about it when it comes to the SimCity Racing pair. Fastest lap punch in by Corone at the front, an important one as well, given that Guillaume Levesque still trying to build up his tires into the window after the late pit stop in that 888 machine. Into turn 1, this conga line continues to go back and forth with now 8 minutes to go. Let's go and take a look at the replay. Joey, Miguel Angel Fonseca had been having a decent race, but down into turn number 5, another battle pack, this time inside of the top 30. Things are about to come unstuck.
Yep, he's in the funky yellow and white Ferrari. There's a dive up ahead of him, but I don't think that had anything to do with Miguel. He gets on the throttle off of turn 5. Everything still looks perfectly fine. Then that's Lance Loomis to his inside into turn 6. Everything's still fine. I don't know when this finally happened for Miguel because it was all looking good for him. Maybe it was into turn 8 as Nick McLaughlin gets by him, Marc-Andre Desjardins to the inside, and there's finally what happened. Him and Desjardins, a little bit of loop-de-loop in turn 8.
And I think the importance of seeing that entire sequence is the way that these 90-degree corners look. They may all seem the same, but Joey, they're all very, very different and challenging in their own unique way. They have bumps on braking. They have dips at the apex, for example, through the corner that we've just worked through. You've got to understand what makes each of them unique and the ways to make your way around the track as quickly as possible.
Turn 5, that's the heaviest braking zone on the track. It is a 90-degree corner, but it's very tight. It's downhill. Then turn 6 is higher speed. It's off camber. It's kind of blind as well in the braking zone. And then turn 8, that's one of the best passing opportunities because that is a true 90-degree corner. It's downhill as well. They're all entirely different. People who write off Road America saying, oh, it's all 90-degree corners. Well, you're a 90-degree corner because you're wrong. It's all diverse. It's all different, and every single corner on this track is a passing opportunity.
Just a reminder as well that I have thrown the gauntlet down starting on Sunday for costumes next week, be it building up to Halloween. I'm expecting a lot next Tuesday from these drivers. Lease Esports in particular, they can get their cars dressed up to match. Can they get their drivers dressed up in costume to match? Again, challenge has been laid down. Faro sees Olivier go a little bit defensive. Olivier, didn't he start in the McLaren alongside Nathan Lewis and has taken the 20-point hit to switch to the Ferrari?
He did, but since then, Nathan Lewis has not shown up in the last 3 rounds, so I think Dominic didn't want to be lonely, and he said, you know what, I'll take the penalty. I'm not fighting for the championship anymore. I might as well hop in the Ferrari and join my teammate Jeremy Gonsalves. But I want to see some of these cars in costumes as well. I want to see special Halloween logos.
What are you feeling? You feeling a grimace?
Maybe do that or anything. Maybe we could go for the ultimate confusion, and they could wear costumes that are other teams' liveries. So we could see Andrew Corone in the David Mendonça car.
You know what? Yes, that poor commentators. Can you imagine?
And I'm sure the viewers will love that. They'll be like, "Wait, did trading paints switch things around?" I don't know, but all I know is I'm going out for Halloween. I'm dressing up as Josiah Farrow. That's my choice.
All I know is that I'm not going to be around to have to deal with that nightmare of a commentary situation. So good luck, Joey, and whichever poor soul ends up joining you and your puns in the commentary booth. Look at the front, though. Less than half a second between them with 4.5 minutes to go, which will mean, Joey, I believe we are going to just get 2 more laps rather than the 3 that I thought we might.
I believe you will be correct. Clock's ticking down fast enough. We're going to cross the line with 4 minutes to go. So 2 laps, that's only a couple more chances for Guillaume Levesque, but he's done a good job of getting closer to his teammate. He's now within 4/10. He's got the full effect of the draft down the front straight here. You need to be within about 2 or 3 tenths to actually think about going for a move into any of these corners after the long straights. But he's doing exactly that. Fastest lap of the race. He's within 3 tenths now.
We're talking championship here as well. Corone, championship leader. Guillaume Levesque, 12 points back. And with half the season done, 5 races still left to go. Neither driver going to give an inch. Down out of turn 3. Both cars getting close to the white line and to the grass on braking, trying to maximize their momentum in their matching Mercedes, Lease, and Pure Sims entries. Of course, Daniel Ferguson no longer going to make it a 1, 2, and 3, but still going to be a great day for the team. How does it fare for them in the driver's points? Levesque not close enough down into turn 5. He'll get an additional lap after this to work his way on forward. But being real between these two drivers, it's going to be turn 1, turn 5, or Canada Corner, where moves will be made.
I think Guillaume is thinking about Canada Corner now. He is so close to the back of his teammate. If he can stick with him through the carousel, he's going to have the ultimate opportunity coming down the hill on the brakes into turn 8. Both of them similar on the brakes. Levique gets a little bit better of an exit, a little bit of a clip of the grass for Andrew Caron. He's feeling the pressure through the carousel here. This is where the downforce really comes into consideration. It's an open setup series, so you have to have a little bit of downforce. You have to have straight line speed as well for all the straight lines here at Road America. And it looks like both of these guys, unsurprisingly, teammates in the Mercedes, they've got identical setups through there, and Levique is still about 2.5 tenths back.
Question might be if they have slight differences to accommodate their driving style, but seemingly in terms of top-end speed, you're right. It's just the draft that's playing a difference. Levique just closes up in the hole in the air being punched, and 1 lap to go, they'll have it the line. What a fascinating race it's been for them all. It's all about the margins of fuel in the early stages. Now it comes down to the battle on track, and as they fight behind, and Martin Crisp is dropping down the order. He'll be frustrated in that SimCity Racing 957. White flag in hand, Caron and Levique for the win at Road America.
Guillaume is as close as he's ever been. He's not going to be close enough to go for a move into turn 1. You never really are. That's always a low percentage move. But if he can be within about 1.5 tenths of Andrew Caron coming out of turn 3, he is going to be in with a shot at going for a move into turn 5. He's had a fantastic exit out of turn 1. He peeks the nose to the inside in turn 3. Has to slot back in line. Has to focus on the exit here. He's got a great exit. He's within 2 tenths. We're going to see these guys going for it in turn 5.
Oh, and they're snaking back and forth. Which way would you cover? Caron wants the inside, wants to force the Mercedes the long way around. Boris Avando's dropping down the timing screen. More drama on the final lap of this one. But teammates, wheel to wheel, down at the bottom of turn number 5 and giving each other enough room. Guillaume Levique hopes to power under the bridge at turn number 6 and continue putting the pressure on the race leader, Andrew Caron, searching for a 3rd win in 2023 Season 4.
I think Guillaume Levique has been good on his incident points because he was able to take advantage of the asphalt runoff into turn 5 and go as wide as humanly possible. Didn't give him the move, though. He's got to stay close through the kink here. He's got to stay close through the carousel, because if he can be, again, within 1.5 tenths of a second or so, he's going to get one final shot, but that is going to be his final shot into Canada Corner. He's got to make this work because he's running out of time.
Breathe of the throttle and then stamping onto the loud pedal. Maximum momentum through the kink. No hint of a breathe of the throttle. Both drivers straddle the grass. Once again, Caron defensive, forcing Levique to search for a line. But in towards Canada Corner, it's not close enough. One more opportunity maybe, Joey, into the final corner.
It's a little bit wide for Caron out of Canada Corner. Not the best exit in the world, but the final corner is not the best place to go for a pass. Levique can think about it. He can send a nose. But if Caron is able to exit fine, he's going to win this race, and he's done exactly that. It's going to be a drag race to the line, but I think Caron's got it.
Never say never, though, because the draw plays a part. A photo finish between the teammates, but in a race controlled by Leeson Pure Sims, Andrew Caron, Guillaume Levique split by 66 thousandths of a second at the line. Caron grabs his 3rd victory of the campaign. Trepanier will grab the final spot on the podium. It's the championship protagonists that make sure they are there to be counted come the checkered flag.
That was very, very exciting stuff. Well done to both of those guys. They gave each other enough room. They put on a show, and I think either way, both those guys are going to be very happy with a 1-2 for Leeson Pure Sims. There's still about half the field that has to finish. That's how stratified things got with how fast everybody was up front. Ray Dominguez and Ted Lowendick and Nick McLaughlin and the rest of the gang almost a full minute behind Caron, but still getting all the points they can get.
We ignored plenty of fighting in the middle and back halves of the field, given how close it was up toward the front, but so much at Road America to talk about, and like we say, one of maybe an underrated track in general motorsport, but here in sim racing, when we can throw all sorts of machines around this wonderful facility and experience the thrill, well, it's become very much a cult classic for all to enjoy. A look at the race results, a dive into post-race interviews, and wrapping up on Tuesday night lie ahead. But a look at the race results sees 71 thousandths, the official difference between the teammates come the checkered flag. But Andrew Caron, after the DNF in the first race, 2 victories after that, back on top to kick off the second half of the campaign. Guillaume Lebec is still searching for a victory, but racks up another top 5 to make it a quadruple of Lease Esports machines in the top 4, with Trepanier and Boucher for Lease Esports Purple also racking up some valuable team championship points. Nane Tavares, the best of the Seabell Racing Ferraris, in 5th, with Jeremy Gonzalez, Dominic Olivier, Josiah Farrow, Simon Terrio, and then Fernando Yaquez, the rest of the top 10. It's 11th for Juan Malagon, while Ryan Pucktel, in what was a frustrating race for SimCity Racing, dropped to 12th, at least in front of Michael Terrafino and then Martin Crisp, the second of those SimCity Racing machines. Kwok Nin for Vaporworks jumps up 5 positions along with Ted Lowendick to 15th and 16th, while Caven Norris, Christmas cars for everyone, apparently in 17th, Patrick Bachelard, David Mendoza, and Tyler Campbell, the rest of your top 20. Still on the leading lap, the likes of Ethan Bass, Ray Dominguez, Kevin Simpson, Lars Loomis, and Nick McLaughlin, who make up the top 25. Faris Nasser in a drag race with Miles Brown to the line finishes 26th. Andre Deschardins 28th, with Mark Anthony Hinkson and Miguel Angel Fonseca making up the rest of the top 30. And then just one more car on the lead lap, Jay Steffi, one car, one lap down, as Boris Ovando found himself dropping down the timing screens to 32nd. Daniel Ferguson didn't make it on the other side of the pit stops, unfortunately. Neither did Gary Brown, while Dalton Zavadil, Alessandro Tokyo, Keith Maines, and Diego Ere make up the rest of the 38 that saw the green flag. We can head straight down, though, to victory lane, because boy, was that a thriller of a race. First with the fuel window, and then with the pressure that the teammates put on one another. And Joey Tebbins ready to chat with our race winner for the 3rd time this season, Andrew Carone.
Indeed I am, the head guy with the whole Lease Esports operation. Andrew, battling with your teammate, both Mercedes, at the end of the race at Road America. How much fun was that?
That was a lot of fun. I think me and Guillaume had some difference in the setup, and I think it really showed at the end. So I have to give props to him. I think if we fight a bit more at the end, I think he got me. But, I think the pace and the Mercedes was really there at the end. So we had a good race there.
Well, it's interesting to hear you guys, both in Mercedes, both on the same team. You would assume the setups were the same, but what were the differences? What was helping you? What was helping him?
Well, for this race, we were not sure about the wing, so I think Guillaume ran a little bit more wing, and I ran lower wing. I think it was better against the Ferraris if we were running lower wing, but I think it wasn't good against another Merc to have less wing, I think, this time.
Well, Andrew, we know for sure you're going to keep the championship lead after tonight. Congrats on your 3rd win of the season, and we'll see you in Interlagos next week.
Thanks a lot. I just want to say thanks to all the sponsors at Advanced Motorsport, Advanced Sim Racing, Dakins Design, everybody that support us. Thank you.
Andrew Carone coming home with his 3rd win of the season, but we'll go right down to the guy who he beat in that battle, Guillaume Levique, battling with your teammate at the end of the race, 71 thousandths at the end. What more did you need to beat Andrew?
I needed to not do a kart race just before the race, and arriving like 10 minutes before the quali. That's what I need.
Not ideal there, but Interlagos next week. Do you have a go-kart race scheduled before that, or are you going to get a little bit more practice next week?
Nah, the season is over for karting, so all on the sim for the rest of the season.
Your teammate sent me a message and told me to call you Mini Guy today, so congratulations on the podium, Mini Guy, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks you guys.
Guillaume Levique coming home 2nd, and why not? Let's make it all Lease. Let's get the entire podium, because we've got their 3rd teammate, Vincent Trepanier, rounding everything out. Vincent, the podium, 1, 2, 3 for Lease Esports. It's 2 different teams, but that's got to be good for you guys in the team's championship.
Yeah, it's very good for all the guys. I'm very proud of all the guys in the Lease Sport. Yep. Just a little bit, how to say it, disappointed because I want to win it because I know I can have the pace, but like I said last week, Andrew, Caron, and Fergie, they are just too strong. So I try my best. I do my best.
I called your teammate Mini Guy for you. I hope you're happy.
Yeah, hey, good job. Nice.
Vincent Trepanier. We'll see you next week. Congrats on the podium, and good luck at Interlagos.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to all the Advanced Sim Racing, Advanced Motorsport, and all of our sponsors.
Vincent Trepanier, 3rd place, Arjuna. What a day for Lease Esports. What a day for French Canada. They're just dominating the whole thing.
It was all about that first stint, wasn't it? And not fighting. Even though they didn't stretch the legs, it was the way the strategy played out that ultimately saw them break away. And You asked them and mentioned it briefly. Interlagos up next. Of course, we've already talked about it with the GT3 Fix series and what to expect. Now, the one thing that we should expect, and it's maybe not something that we've talked about just yet, is cooler track conditions today, Joey, in the fall in the northern hemisphere. But of course, Brazil's in the southern hemisphere. It's going to be warm. Track temperatures are going to be screeching once again, and tires, I think, are going to be screaming in agony.
The old topsy-turvy world down there in Brazil. It's pretty easy to predict, though, because I think we've learned that there aren't really seasons in Brazil. There's summer, there's summer, there's summer, and there's summer. It's always hot. They haven't seen snow in their lives, so you come to expect triple-digit track temps.
You say that. Don't talk to Hugo about the weather sometimes that he's seen in Brazil. But of course, what a fun season these drivers have still lying in front of them, because if you take a look at the schedule, just like it is for the GT3 Fix series, leading on after Interlagos, Fuji and Watkins Glen to close things out. Joey, we're only a month away from crowning our last champion of 2023 in these GT3 machines.
And there's still so much that we don't know. There's teams championships, there's drivers championships. SimCity Racing kind of had a hellish day today with all 3 of their drivers outside of the top 10. But the drivers championship, it's looking very good between Caron, Levaik, Trepanier. They're all separated by only about 15 points, I think. So we're going to keep talking about that team's championship all season long. And maybe it won't be any one of them. Maybe it will be somebody else who shocks us.
You're just now trying to set up the unexpected, aren't you? And maybe bring the commentator's curse down on a couple of strong
teams. It's going to be
teams.
me. I'm going to win the team's championship.
Making an appearance from Wednesday night, suddenly in the Tuesday night team championship. That's how, and points championship. That's how we'll magic things into the air for Joey. But it is next week at Interlagos where the action on track will be hot, the track temperature will be hot as well, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of great racing. That is here on RaceSpotTV, same time and same place. And don't forget, Precision Racing League action rumbles on for the next couple of days. For Joey Tebben alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for joining us here at the American National Park of Speed. We'll see you from Interlagos in 1 week's time.